All right, and we're live. Welcome everyone to Happy Hour number 34, where we're going to be talking about the South Korean zombie classic, The Train to Busan. And for tonight's analysis, for tonight's Happy Hour, I'm joined by the one and only Rekieta Law. Thank you very much for coming on the show, man.
Oh man, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I was kind of briefly saying to you earlier that this kind of came about from a super chat on my last stream when I did Beverly Hills Cop with Az, and one of the people just said, like, can you please do a stream with Rekieta Law about Train to Busan? And like after I'd had a few drinks by that point, and I was just like, yeah, sure. I just got my phone out and sent you the message, and you were very lucky for me, like willing to do it. So excellent stuff. We're doing it just because of that super chat.
That's the best way for shows to come together. Always bring them together with super chats.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, so like just for the people in chat who are watching, if there's any people here who don't know how we normally do this, we'll talk about the movie. We'll kind of work our way through it, just discussing what works and what doesn't. And when super chats come in, we tend to do them all at the end, so we don't keep stopping and starting. So if you do send a super chat and we don't pick it up right away, don't worry, we'll get to them all at the end, so you won't be left out. But yeah, I guess I was going to ask, first of all, when people mentioned me talking about this movie with you, I assume you're a bit of a fan of it in the first place. Like maybe you'd reviewed it before, or you'd mentioned it, and
I watched it. I watched it on a Twitch watch party. That was the first time people were like, "You got to watch this movie. You got to watch it." So I watched it with a couple hundred people, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. But I don't have a ton of time to watch movies, so I haven't watched it since then, and it's been a little while. So I rewatched it yesterday, but what I remembered about it and the things I liked about it, it reminded me of movie making in the 80s and 90s in the USA. And I think we've kind of gotten away from some of this very rewarding storytelling. It's enjoyable to watch. It's the acting is great. The setups are great. The payoffs are big. And that's the type of stuff that we used to get. Now I feel like they're trying too hard to make things very complex and nuanced today. And we lose a lot of storytelling for when you have 90 to 120 minutes to tell a story. You don't get to sit around and waste a bunch of time trying to explain the tortured details of everybody. And I think this movie does a very, very good job of getting us in really quickly and making us like the characters really, really well. And they use some good tricks to do it. So
yeah. No, there's I guess the thing that kind of struck me about it is there's a lot of like almost old-fashioned kind of family themes going on here, like a father trying to reconnect with his daughter, and the husband who's protecting his pregnant wife, all that sort of stuff. And it's like almost good old-fashioned values, I guess, that you would aspire to. Again, that's the sort of thing that doesn't play out terribly well in modern Hollywood. So it's almost like you have to go to South Korea and other countries like that to get movies like this. And it's a real shame, but this is what we're stuck with now. But we get to enjoy movies like this, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, and it's a stark reminder that like the sort of Western ideology of the day is not where the world is, and it's not even where the West was. Just a few short years ago. I mean, when you really get down to it, it has not been that long, but we've taken such a turn. And this movie, and I think the reason it resonates with audiences is because of sort of those I'll call them normative values that we all know. Like, it's easy to identify with a character, a dad who maybe feels like he's not doing the best job as a dad, but he's trying. Like that's something we can all see either in ourselves or in our dads, or in if you don't have your own dad or whatever, in parents that you've met or father figures like that. That's just a trait that we all identify with. It's a lot harder to identify with with fathers of some sort of weird, like fathers who are mothers, for example. That's a weird sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what helped me connect with the movie. All of the characters fit into these very sort of traditional archetypes. And I loved that. I don't need characters to all be quote unquote complex. That's the amazing thing, is that complex characters often aren't that complex, and traditional characters who seem very straightforward can be really complex. But
yeah, I mean, I guess almost like I don't need every archetype and every character deconstructed and reassembled into something that I don't even recognize as a normal person anymore. You know, you get very strong, fairly straight up characterizations of most of the people in this movie, and they stick, and it works, and you identify with them because you get where they're coming from. You get the kind of people that they are. There's a great line actually from one of them to the protagonist late in the movie, where they're about to fight their way through a whole train carriage full of zombies to get to their loved ones. And he's saying there, you know, that one of the things about being a dad is like you don't get much thanks for it, and you're quite often looked down on, but like you do it because that's what it means to be a dad. Like you sacrifice and you provide. And I thought it was a great line.
I wrote the exact quote down because I was like,
because I've obviously butchered it here.
Well, I was just talking about this the other day on one of my rants or whatever about dads. And so the quote is from probably most people's favorite character, I think, is the actor's name is Don Lee. He's the big dude. He's a super Chad. He says, dads get all the shit and no praise, but it's all about sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a good scene because he's saying that, but he's not, I mean, his wife is pregnant. So he's not actually the full dad. He's been kind of dumping on the main character dad because he's a fund manager. He seems a little selfish. He maybe seems a little squirrely or cowardly to him. But they just went through a lot. And so he's got this kind of banter going with him where he's kind of razzing on him. And then he says the line right before this. He says, I bet you never got to play with your daughter. And you almost feel like he's about to dump on him a little bit. Like, oh, you're too busy. But then he says, she'll understand when she's older why you worked so hard.
Yeah.
And it was like, he's identifying and leveling with the guy, but also like he's kind of seeking advice and approval of what he's about to endure, right? Like his journey's about to get started. I thought it was such a cool scene. It's this great exchange that bonds those two characters where they had a little bit of friction beforehand.
Yeah, I think like two guys who are obviously risking their lives, together, and they kind of have to rely on each other at this point. They got to watch each other's backs, and they're going into a situation that they might not survive, and so that's going to like bond you to someone more than anything you could imagine. Like it's a pretty intense thing to go through, and yeah, he's trying to get him on board, and he's acknowledging that the guy's got value. Like you say, he's looked down on him because he's like a hedge fund manager, and he just sees him as like a corporate vulture, who exploits other people for money. And the guy's gradually proven himself to be more than that, and he's earning a bit of respect from this other guy. So it's a kind of recognition of that. And yeah, it's kind of how guys relate to each other. We take the piss out of each other. That's how we deal with big emotional moments. We just make fun of each other.
Right. Yeah, because right after that, he turns to the other guy, the baseball guy, and starts making fun of him too. They had, and if I'm not mistaken, they had just fought through one of the first train car. They had just gotten kind of through it, and right before that, the big guy took charge. He was in the lead, and he actually put the dad at the back, and he has that brutal line. He says, "I hear you're a fund manager. So you're great at leaving worthless people behind.
Yeah.
Make sure no one gets us from the back." And it's like, oh God. But it was right after that he's like, oh no, this guy came through, and
yeah.
And those
I love that bit actually, where it's like they're getting ready to go into action and they're taping up like, you know, duct tape around their arms to protect them from bites. And he just like doffs his jacket and he's just this absolute beast underneath. And like for him, it's just like game on. He's ready to fight. It's like he's not even like perturbed by all of this. He's just like, yeah, I know what to do.
Yeah. And the dude's arms, like he's got like 22-inch biceps. He's this huge
a tank.
guy.
He really is.
Yeah. And he's like, I'll take the front. Hands the baseball bat to the baseball guy and a pipe and shield the other guy. And he's just like, we're going for it. You know, full fists.
I mean, I guess what we should perhaps jump back a little bit and talk a little bit about the movie from the beginning. So there's obviously a little bit of setup just to establish that there's going to be this biological outbreak. You know, you get a delivery truck going through like a military checkpoint where it has to be like decontaminated and all the rest of it. And you know, the driver's asking all about what's going on. They're like, oh, just don't worry, it's just a precaution. You know, there's all these armed soldiers there. And as he's heading off down the road, he hits a deer, which is just, you know, it's one of those shitty things that you think's a random accident, you know. And you get that great moment where he drives off and leaves it and it just like gets to its feet again. Zombie deer.
Yeah, it's all like limp and its neck's busted and it gets up and you're like, ooh.
Yeah. Because you don't normally think a deer is being particularly intimidating, but you know, they managed to do it a little bit.
Yeah.
But that just gives you the little setup that this is obviously what's going to afflict the movie. You know, it's going to be a viral outbreak of some kind. Right. And then you get to see our main man who, you know, this is something I guess we're going to have to tackle because, like, obviously all the actors and characters are South Korean, and it's kind of tricky to keep track of all their different names because they are a bit of a mouthful. I don't know if we just refer to them. If you've got a note of who people are, that's cool. I might struggle a little bit. I was just going to call him like the protagonist or the main character or whatever.
Yeah, that works for me. I have written down. I took notes on this. I got a whole page of them.
Oh, wow. Shit. You're better prepared than I am.
Well, to be fair, I started watching this last night after I got kind of hammered on my show. So I was like, I'm kind of hammered watching this. I better take notes down to keep me focused. That's going to make me through. But yeah, I either have him down as the dad, the fund manager, the main character. Okay. So that's yeah, any one of those is going to work for me.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's fine. I mean I'll just go with the dad or the main character. But yeah, you get your introduction to him, and as you've said, you know, he's a hedge fund manager. He's a pretty you know, senior guy in this business, and you already get little hints that something's up. Like his client wants to dump all his shares in this company that does like biomedical research. I wonder what that could mean. But you also establish that he's a workaholic and he's divorced from his wife, right. And he's not particularly close with his daughter either. You know, his young daughter, because it's her birthday and he hasn't got her a present, and he has to ask, I think, one of his work colleagues, like, what do kids like? What should I get her? And it's like, oh yeah, get her a Nintendo Wii. You know.
Yeah,
because this movie was made a while back. Wii's were still a thing.
Yep. Yeah, he does that. The thing that I found interesting, and this is the stuff that I love about kind of tight storytelling. You know, we don't know. We have no idea why the daughter's with the dad, right? Like, he's a workaholic. He seems disconnected from her, but at the same time, he's divorced. She's not with the mom. She's with the dad. And he indicates on the phone to the mom, this stuck out to me, that he's going to raise her. He wants to raise her, that he wants her to stay with him. And what was interesting was when I first started watching it, I was like, okay, that's a dad who wants to be a better dad. He wants to raise the daughter. But I think they were actually indicating that that's part of his selfishness, because he is disconnected from her. He likes her,
I think he almost sees it as like, I don't know if his mother pushed him into it, because she's like got a big part in looking after the daughter, but I think also he almost sees her like as a victory. You know, he's got to win her over. But then you find out pretty quickly that he doesn't know much about her because he buys her this Nintendo Wii, brings it back to her for her birthday, and she opens it and her face just drops and he's like, "Oh, you don't like it?" And then she just the camera just pans over and it like there's a Nintendo Wii on her desk, like she's already got one. He just
the
doesn't
exact
even know
same
stuff
box,
like that.
even.
Yeah. So yeah, like you know, he's kind of he's a workaholic, and he doesn't really know much about his daughter, and he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't care. It's just more like he's yeah, I guess he's just too preoccupied with what he does, and he doesn't give her the time that she deserves. But she's wanting to go back and spend time with her mum in Busan. So he's, you know, he doesn't want to have to take her right now because, you know, he's got too much work on and all the rest of it. But I think his wife berates him into doing it, and so he's going to take her on the train to go stay with her mother. And that's what obviously sets up your initial premise of the movie. They're both on the train to Busan together.
Yeah, and it's an interesting sort of thing. One other thing that I think we mentioned before, this movie has a lot of setups in it and a lot of payoffs. And there's you know, the dad was working he was working late that day, and he had to go get the Nintendo Wii and stuff. And it seems like because of that combination, he missed his daughter singing at her school.
Yes.
And she was going to sing a song. And so his mother is who kind of the caretaker for the daughter. And she says, you know, you missed this, but here you go. And she has the video recording, and he opens it up and he watches her, and she starts singing. And her class was super encouraging. I never met a nicer class of elementary school kids.
Yeah, if that had happened at my school, man, they'd be like laughing their asses off at you.
Right? Yeah, the daughter, she starts singing the song, and then she just stops. She freezes up in the middle of it, and the dad's sitting there looking, and he's like, "Oh, I mean, she didn't even do it, you know." And
I think that's the kind of guilt of that prompts him to take her on the train, because initially he's like, "No, we'll do it next week or something when I've got more time."
Right.
And because he saw this and he's like, "Oh man, you know, I missed this important thing for her, and she totally choked on it. I'm gonna take her." And so that's what kind of motivates him to take her. So they're on the train together, and I think this is when you kind of get your introduction to most of the major characters in the movie. You know, you've got the big dude who's the absolute Chad of the movie, and his pregnant wife. You've got like a pair of old ladies who are like close friends with each other. You've got like a high school baseball team, I think.
Yeah, I can't tell if they're supposed to be high school or if they're a pro Korean baseball team or a amateur Korean baseball team, like semi-pro.
I mean, they're pretty young, so I assume they're either college or high school, you know,
right?
By the looks of them. And yeah, I'm trying to think who else there is. There's the businessman dude who's who's an older guy who's a bit shady. And
there's the homeless guy.
The homeless guy who kind of who stumbles into the train last minute,
right? Yeah, he's supposed to be thrown off the train. You have the train staff in there as well. They kind of have minor parts. The conductor becomes a little bit important later in the movie.
Yes,
I was confused on the two women. I couldn't figure out if they were just really good friends or if they were actually sisters. Because I think at one point they refer to each other as sister, but I couldn't tell if that was just an affectionate.
There's a few people in chat suggesting that they're sisters. They've got that kind of relationship by the way they act. Like they kind of like, you know, they bitch and moan at each other a little bit, and you know they're always having little digs at each other, but it's all very like good natured. So yeah, right. It could well be that they're sisters. They've definitely known each other for a long time by the looks of them.
Yeah. people are saying sisters. We know they said sisters, but the question is that like an affectation because they've been friends for so long, you know, type thing. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I don't think the idea is that they've been together, you know, related, connected for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. People are definitely saying, they're definitely saying sisters. So we'll go with that. We'll go with that. And yeah, so the train's just pulling away from the station when a girl staggers on board who's been injured, and she's got like this big, you know, bite mark on her leg. She goes and hides in one of the bathrooms so she can tend to herself, and she tries like tying a tourniquet around it. And I think the dad falls asleep while they're on the way out the station, and so his daughter goes off to the bathroom to use it, and you know, the bathroom's out of action because, you know, they're all taken. And that's when you meet the big guy, whose pregnant wife is in one of them. So he's like, yeah, you should probably go and use another one, you know, because she's going to be in there a while. And I think there's a little bit of a red herring there where someone gets the train conductor's attention and they're like, yeah, someone like suspicious came on this train. I don't think they've got a ticket, and they hid themselves in the bathroom. And you think he's going to go and walk in on that girl who's been injured, and he forces his way in, and it's the homeless guy who's like,
right,
you know, who's kind of a good character in the end, but like it takes quite a long time for him to redeem himself. But yeah, he's just like traumatized in there, like, oh, they're all dead, everybody's dead. Like he's absolutely messed up, you know.
Yeah, and he sucks for most of the movie. Like he's and I think he's in there as a chore for some of the other characters because you know, they, like I said earlier, the big guy, he says you're good at leaving useless people behind, and like that guy is the check on the dad. Like the dad has to constantly grab this guy and like help him along. He's like, and his instinct is to just move on, but he keeps being in situations where he's got to like drag this homeless guy with him. And it's a development tool, right? It's team building exercise. This guy, the whole movie. He's a work in progress, that guy, for sure. Yeah, he's not helpful. He's not like helping him punch through zombies. He's always ruining the moment. It's great. I love it. I love it.
But yeah, that's when the girl starts to turn because, and it's great. Like I don't know if the actress they got is some kind of contortionist or dancer or something like that, but she collapses on the floor, and the way she moves, it's like so unnatural. Like the way she's like twisted in weird positions and stuff. When she like reanimates as a zombie, it's really good. But yeah, so she falls down on the floor, and one of the stewardesses goes to help her and immediately gets bitten. And I love how the baseball team are all just sitting there chatting and bantering with each other, and you see like the stewardess stagger by with this girl clamped around her shoulders.
Yeah, she's up on the
It's great. Just a nice bit of comedy there.
Going back to their movement for just a second, that was very like pure Korean horror, right? It's the type of the zombie design, the zombie choreography, if you will, all of that stuff. Just it's reminiscent of you know, like The Grudge and these Korean horror movies, the very contorted sort of looks. The makeup isn't overly gruesome. It's the unsettling movement and twisting of bodies that is like there's later in the movie, there's when all the zombie soldiers bust through the window and fall down, they're all bouncing off the train and like breaking limbs. And one gets up and his arm is like stuck behind his head.
It's like this. It's like right over him.
And he just keep like running along with that. It's like, it's so unnatural. It almost looks like a Weird Al comedy sketch, this guy running around. But I love that that's where they focus the horror. Because if this is a George Romero flick, right, they're going to be decaying all over the place. You're going to see like teeth and maggots and sticking out of everything. You're going to have holes in people, and they don't really do that much. They're infected, and they've got blood on them, but it's usually other people's blood.
Yeah, yeah, and I think because like they're all freshly turned. Because if you get bitten in this movie, you turn within a matter of seconds, like maybe a minute or two if you're really lucky. But yeah, so there's not really a chance for you to decompose like you do in classic zombie movies. They're very much just like in 28 Days Later, they're infected people, but they're still more or less whole, and they move really quickly because they're the 28 Days Later kind of. Zombies, not the George Romero ones. So these are not just shambling corpses. They're very quick and they're very strong and they're hard to take out.
That change in 28 Days Later was such a shocking and horrifying change to the zombie genre.
Oh,
it was great. I remember seeing it in theaters. I went with my parents and we went to go see this movie. And like when those things start running, you're like, okay, this is something different. This is more horrifying than a slow mob, because normally you're watching the old zombie movies. You're like, I can escape a shambling mob. I know these characters can't because they all suck, but I can just trot away at a nice jog and be safe. And then suddenly these things are like supercharged, relentless monsters. And I think it's added a lot to the genre. And then they do it really well here. It reminded me also of World War Z, where the zombies, they're so like rapidly moving that they move like a flood. You know, they're pouring into places.
Yeah, just a tidal wave of zombies, and that you know, the scene where they storm over the walls in Jerusalem is just like, in a movie that's quite flawed, like that is just a standout set piece of awesomeness. I love it.
Right, and they do it here too, except it's not as, you know, World War Z is this big global scale thing, and you got millions and millions of zombies. This one, you know, you're dealing with 20 to 50 zombies at a time, but they're in such tight spaces, which I think adds a lot to the tension of the movie. And when they bust through a window or whatever, they pour into the space and they're like climbing over these chairs and over each other. And it's great. There's so many zombies getting trampled in this movie that you just like, oh God,
there's one or two scenes definitely where they do form that just mass of moving flesh. It's just like a living tidal wave that comes at you. And I think particularly in the terminal, or it's like one of the stations where they stop and then they find out that everyone's infected there. You definitely get moments of that, but it's fairly restrained. Kind of like you say, the real danger is because you're stuck in a train that's just a really confined environment. You can't dodge around them. You've got to fight your way through. And so that's what you start to get. Like you get this great example of how quickly something like this spreads, because the zombie comes by, it's already infected the stewardess that it's attacked, and then she reanimates, and before you know it, it's just absolute pandemonium. Like everyone's getting attacked and turning into zombies within a matter of seconds. And so I just like how the camera will cut sometimes to other cars further down the train, and you just start to see people running by, like you know, terrified obviously of what's happening, but you've got no clue of what is actually going on, or the characters don't have a clue yet because they're just seeing these terrified people. So it's quite effective in that way. I like this idea of like the distant threat that you don't quite understand yet, but like, you know, in the actual car where it's going on, it's just absolute carnage. People are dying left, right, and center. Yeah,
and it's an interesting thing because this movie does dramatic irony pretty well, which I'm sure the chat knows, but I'm pretentious, so I'll talk about it. Dramatic irony. It's the idea that the audience knows what's going on all over the place, but the characters in the film do not. And we see this. We saw it even when the zombie first gets on the train, the first zombie chick. You know, all the characters are like turning away and doing something else at that point as this person comes in. The dad's asleep. The little girl sees her walk in. That's about it. And then right outside, you know, the train doors close. And you start to see people getting picked off at the station as the train's pulling away.
Yeah, that was good.
Everybody inside's occupied with their own stuff, and they do this a lot. And so, you know, it's great because it gets the viewer into this idea of, you know, this person runs by you on a train and you're like, well, there's a zombie outbreak. Nobody's reacting. But you think about it, like if you're just sitting somewhere, if you're in public and someone runs by you, I mean, it'll be weird and alarming, but you're like, I'm not going to run around like an idiot. I have no idea what's going on. And that's how the characters react. It's very believable to me that they're sitting there and like people are running by and they're just like mildly annoyed at what's going on because it's outside of normal behavior.
Yeah, and even when, you know, you're in the carriage where people are getting attacked, your first thought wouldn't be, oh shit, this is a zombie outbreak in the making here. It would be like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this stewardess attacking like someone else?
Right.
You know, you just wouldn't understand it initially, and it would take time to process it. And that's kind of what you get from these people. There's a few moments of shock before like the panic sets in. So it's a good way of showing how these things would spread so easily, but it does spread obviously very quickly. And this is when they have to start evacuating, like obviously further down the carriage to try and block these things in. And it's only in this scene where I think this is the first instance of the main character being just a selfish asshole. Like, I think he wants to leave the big guy and his wife behind. Like, he seals the door while they're still in the carriage. And the guy's like fighting them off. And it's only when he approaches that he finally, like, you know, opens the door and lets the guy through. But he was like fully content to like leave him behind and just seal the door, you know?
Yeah. But what I like about it, and we're jumping ahead, or I'll be jumping ahead on this comment though, is this is one of those early setups that has a big payoff later on, because he does close the door, like he's ready to leave him behind. But when they show up and kind of knock, you know, he comes to his senses, he finds his humanity, and he opens the door. He lets him in. And then way later in the movie, they've just fought through several cars of zombies. They rescued people. They're making their way towards the front, and the people up front are skeptical, right? Like they think, oh no, these guys, you know, they've probably been bitten. They're going to turn infected. They're going to kill all of us. And so they lock and barricade the door, and they won't let them in. Yeah. And you can see like the dad's face, because he kind of processes what's happening, but he's also disgusted that they don't, like, it's like he understands for a second, but then they don't relent and let them in. And it's this nice juxtaposition between what is kind of normal, but then noble, to what is normal and ignoble later on. I like how they did that.
I mean, it obviously begs the question of like what you would do in a situation like that, because we all like to believe that we'd be the hero that would, you know, fight to protect other people and get every possible person out before sealing the door. But then would you actually take the selfish option and say, no, we're going to save the people that have already made it out, and we're not going to risk any more by keeping this thing open? We're going to seal it. Like, it's a difficult question, because you obviously can't ever be in a situation like that, but it does make you wonder, I guess.
But the thing I also like about it is, going back to those traditional values, this movie offers moral lessons with very harsh punishments for immoral actions. And that whole train car full of people gets massacred. And I literally just watched this scene probably 45 minutes ago. And one of the great parts of that is it's the people's bad actions that lead the remaining sister to think that those people aren't worth saving. Yeah. And she has this neat little exchange in her exchange with herself, because her sister just got turned into a zombie, and she's like, silly, you know, you're always putting other people before you, always trying to help others, and for what? As she's watching these people be the worst, you know, kind of emphasize the worst of humanity. And so she goes and she just opens the door and says, screw it, none of the people in this car are worth saving.
I mean, that was a pretty extreme decision that she took there, like killing an entire car full of people, because some of them might have been all right people. They were just a little bit scared or whatever, like not willing to speak up, but like, just kill them all. Fair enough.
That's what I'm saying. This movie has harsh moral penalties for bad actors.
Yeah, no, very much so. And so you know, he's able to make it out, and he's not too pissed off with the guy. He's just he's like, yeah, you would have left me behind there if we hadn't made it out as quickly as we did.
Right.
But yeah, they pretty quickly get distracted because they realize that the zombies can't open doors. They're not intelligent enough to do that, and if they can't see them, then they'll stop trying to get to them, almost, because they're that stupid. So they just like cover the glass door over with paper or whatever, and that's enough to hold them off for the time being. And I think that's when you find out over the TV system that, you know, this outbreak's happening all across the country, you know, in lots of different areas. And so like whole cities are going into quarantine or going under lockdown or whatever. The military is trying to step in and take control of the situation. So it's a pretty rapidly developing zombie outbreak, and they're caught up right in the middle of it. So you get a real sense of the gravity of what's going on, like, very quickly.
I love the it's got the nice touch of the government messaging on the announcement too. It's like, everything's fine. You should just go ahead and stay inside your houses. We have no indication that you're in any danger. And like, I think at that time they're like passing a city and the city's like on fire or whatever.
You know what they really needed in a moment like that is like a super happy like K-pop actress, just like, you know, cheerfully telling them that everything's fine. Just just stay in your homes and you won't die.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a good juxtaposition. Like, clearly the governments have got no clue what's going on, and they're just desperately trying to keep people from panicking. And I think that's when, because like part of the train is now sealed off, they need to get to like a safe zone so they can get off this thing. And so they're going to stop off at a station along the way where they've been told that it's safe. But you find out pretty quickly that it's not.
Yeah, another thing that happens around this time is the main character calls his mother on the phone. It's a little just a sidebar, but I thought it was pretty important because he calls his mother to kind of find out. He's like, what, you know, is this going on? Like, what's up? And then she she has some final words for him as she is turning into a zombie over the phone. And I thought that was great because what it tells the dad, and he knows he's not going back. There's no going back from this. And I think it's an important direction setting moment for the character. It's like, nope, you do not get to retreat. You do not get to run into your safe place, your rich housing with your nanny of a mom who's rescuing you from your daughter's relationship. No, you have to go forward. You have to go to Busan. And that's the only place you can go. You have to bring your daughter there. There's no safety net. It's gone.
Well, he's obviously got contacts as well within the government and the police, because he's speaking to one of his friends and basically saying, look, we're heading to this particular city. Can you make sure that we're like taken care of when we get there? And so, you know, the guy tells him like, be careful when you get there, but go to this particular place. They'll have my men escort you out of there. So he's got contacts that can help him out a little bit. But yeah, that phone call with his mother is pretty sobering for him.
Right.
I was just looking at chat here. There's one from Nico Purasinian who says the Scottish messaging would be more like, 1, nah, it'll be fine. And later, number 2, go away now. I think it would be more like, you're all pure fucked, by the way. Good luck to you. Bye. Oh, man. Yeah, so I think the main character also has a chat with his daughter because she was wanting to help other people. I think in the course of this, she was worried about other people getting out of there safely, and he very, straight up says to her, like, don't worry about other people now. Like, right now, you just have to care about yourself, and that's all that matters. Very much reflects his mindset of like, we just have to look out for number one, and nobody else is important right now. Obviously, that's what changes in him later in the movie, but it's an important kind of conversation because you can see how much it upsets her that her dad's telling her something like this.
Yeah, and you know, she advocates the better behavior, and then along comes the homeless guy, right? And he's like, because they break off from the group, the rest of the group goes, but the homeless guy's been lagging behind because he's terribly incapable of anything, and so he shows up and he's like, no, I'm gonna go with you guys. I'm gonna go with you. You seem to have the better plan. And the dad's like, no, you go with the others. And the little girl's like, come on. And so it does. And I mean, he's this constant little tool for the dad to be better. And so, you know, he accompanies them, you know, on their alternative path, which of course ends up being fruitless anyway. But yeah. It's one of the important things in a character-driven story, and this is it's tempting in a zombie movie to make it a world-driven story or plot device-driven, but they don't actually develop the plot of the zombie outbreak in this movie at all. Instead, they develop the characters within it. And one of the things is you got to have characters that change and grow, and all of the characters in this one, just about all of the useful characters, they do change, and if they don't change, like I said, they're punished harshly. And so it's they're really good at throughout the entire movie showing you and leaving these breadcrumbs of breadcrumb trail of change for these characters. And I think that is very much to the movie's credit. I think it's why you believe the characters, is because it's not like they turn on a dime halfway through the movie or 3/4 of the way. It's subtle over the whole thing, all of these little encounters.
Yeah, very much. And yeah, exactly like you're saying, the actual course of the zombie outbreak and how, you know, the government responds to it is less important. It's more of a natural, it's like a force of nature, basically. It's something that puts all these characters under enormous strain and enormous pressure and forces them to make difficult decisions. And that's the role that it serves, you know. And yeah, it works perfectly well because, like, it is such a character-driven movie. It's all about how these people respond to that situation and how they develop. And exactly like you say, the people who prove themselves to be assholes and who won't step up to help other people, they ultimately they get punished for it. And the main character's journey is like a really satisfying one where he actually learns that value of self-sacrifice for other people. But it's not until the very end of the movie that he really gets there. So it's a good bit of character work for him. Excuse me. So yeah, like the scene you were referencing, obviously they pull into this station, which seems to be a safe zone. So they all start to disembark. And yeah, I love that moment where they're coming down an escalator and it looks like there's a bunch of soldiers at the bottom trying to hold back a crowd. And it's only when they disturb them that they turn around and you see that, yep, they're all zombies and they come piling after these people. So, yep, they have to like retreat back to the train yet again.
Yeah, I love it. They have to, it's the worst. You're on an escalator going down towards imminent death, and you've got to turn around and try and run up an escalator and over other people at the same time. Yeah. And you've got these rabid zombies coming after you. Yeah.
And I love how the main character is with his daughter. Like, they've obviously gone off a different way because that's what they were told to do. And the homeless man is with them. And he sees like one soldier off in the distance and he's like, hey, please help me. And, you know, this guy's just like on the verge of death because he's, you know, his entire unit's been wiped out by these things. And so he gets jumped and yeah, they have to retreat back to the train again. And I think because like it's such a chaotic retreat, they end up all split up and in different carriages because of this.
Yeah. And it sets up, you know, it's another moment for the dad because they run off and they go and there's these glass doors that they're trying to get closed, but they've got an annoying lock up at the top and they're double swinging doors. So they have to get it perfectly lined up and get the lock in. And the big dude is trying for the life of him to get this door locked. And the zombies are pushing on him and people are pushing back against it. And it's like the big dude, the dad, and the baseball player and the homeless guy. They're the four people left, and the women and the other, the women main characters and the other men who are kind of backgrounds, they all run back to the train. And so these guys are sitting there, and everybody else kind of gets into these train cars up front by where the conductor and the train staff are. They're welcome back on. And then the that sleazy CEO guy, he's there, and he's like, we got to go. And it's like the guys who just bought you all the time, they're still struggling with the zombies. Yeah. But then, the train starts to go because everybody's terrified, including the staff. So there's, the staff guy's like, conductor, let's go, To
reference that bit you were talking about, I love when movies do this, where you've got like this task that should be fairly simple under normal circumstances, but because you're under so much pressure or you're under like attack by these things, it becomes this enormous ordeal. Like just to line up a door and put the deadbolt into place would be a simple thing for normal people under normal circumstances. But in this moment, it's this massive task that he's got to try and accomplish. It's great. It's a great tension building device. It's like in 28 Days Later. I don't know if you remember that scene where they get a flat tire in a tunnel and they're trying to change out the tire. And you see the infected off in the distance, like the rats even in the tunnel are retreating from these things. And then you see the shadows of them and the howls of them as they approach. And they're desperately trying to do this procedure of like taking the old tire off and putting the new one on, getting it bolted in. And it would be a simple thing, but because you're under so much pressure and so much time constraint, it becomes this really tense moment. It's great. I love that stuff.
Yeah, if it were any other door, if it's like a normal door, it would hit the backstop and then you'd lock the deadbolt. Simple. But no, they're in a train station with these glass doors because it's a big, open, modern building, and they've got to get it. They've got to get it done. And of course, with the doors being these just giant panes of glass, the zombies are pressed up against them. They're in their face. And they're all they're separated by is this sheet of glass, and it's just great. I love that. And they have a lot of that in this movie because all the train cars are separated by these glass doors as well. And so it adds to that proximity. And it's more just excellent tension building that's done through these devices of, the zombies are only a sheet of glass away. That's it the whole time.
I love as well, like they finally get this door locked and then run for it. And like 3 seconds later, they break through the door anyway. So it's like it doesn't gain them much time, and I think they're heading down onto the platform, and like a couple more of the baseball team get like eaten at the same time. So there's only like that one guy left who's like the coward basically because he wouldn't step forward to fight off any of the zombies. And it's only when later in the movie that he finally gets the courage to fight back and defend the people around him. But again, that's his arc, he's the coward of the group.
Yeah, and I kind of like what they did with that because when you first see the baseball team, there's a tendency in storytelling to use a sports player as an archetype for an automatic hero.
Yeah.
An automatic heroic character. You got a quarterback or whatever. They're physically fit. A lot of them, they'll play on this natural sort of leadership idea, and they get the worst baseball player. They get the worst guy from the whole thing. But he's the one guy of the baseball team that we get the impression has something to fight for. That's the interesting thing, because he's got the girlfriend or the girl who likes him. He clearly likes her, whatever they are. But none of the other baseball players seem to have that. And so those guys actually are a little more heroic and proactive. It gets all of them killed. He's a little hesitant.
Yeah, it does actually.
Yeah, and he's a little hesitant, which saves him. But at the end, that's his motivating factor of he's got to get to her. And that's part of his development as well, is to move past his timidity around this girl to realize that she's important to him, and then to be better than he is, and to overcome his lameness, I guess. But it's another one of the, again, the character, they use archetypes in this very well. Um, but they use them in unconventional ways, I think, which makes it all the more appealing.
Yeah, the guy gets a bit of an unfortunate end as well because the girl that he had the hots for, she ends up getting bitten, and he just basically stays with her until she turns, and then she infects him as well, which is unfortunate because he had a good arc up until that point. And I do like the moment where they get into the train carriage and it's all just his teammates that are there. Like he's got to kill his former friends. You know, that's a hell of a thing to put the guy through.
And he couldn't do it. He could not do it.
Yeah.
At first, I think he comes around later, but no, that's where we first learn about the tunnel. When the darkness shuts down the zombies, because the two other guys are fighting off the baseball team, and he's sitting there like he's so scared, and he's like almost about to act, and then they go into the tunnel, and the zombies all just stop.
Yeah. And that's a cool moment where you realize, okay, this is their advantage. I actually thought they would use that moment to just bash their heads in, like, okay, they're pretty much helpless right now. We can just kill them with ease. But they just used that moment to just duck past them and get the hell out of there. I was going to say as well, the moment where they're fleeing the platform and, the big guy is the only one that's been left behind. Like the train's accelerating away and he's running forward and he just like seems to fall behind. And you're like, oh shit, what the hell's happening? And he just picks up a riot shield and uses it to like plow his way through the zombies that are in his path.
Yeah. So not only is he's running to catch a train, he takes a diversion and then runs through a bunch of zombies with the riot shield and then catches the train. It's like, we're going to need this thing. We're going to need this riot shield and baton. And he's such a useful character.
He's the dude you would want him on your team in any situation like this. Like he's just the guy who can sort shit out. Great character. And he never like demands respect or recognition for what he does. He's just a guy trying to survive. That's it. And that makes him even more awesome.
Did you? Okay, so this is kind of I don't know if this is deeper on the Don Lee the actor, but they never really go into who he is. All we know about him is he's a guy with a pregnant wife, and he is an absolute sap for her, right? Like he is 100% for her, and their relationship is very cute and wonderful, and all of that stuff. But that's all we know. But Don Lee often plays gangsters in his movie, either reformed gangsters who are like trying to get out of the life or whatever and get kind of drawn back in as a noir type character, or an active gangster who ends up being just a dark hero. I'm wondering if they were setting up like him, and hoping that the audience would just kind of pick that up as sort of characterization. Cause I get the idea, this guy is so capable. Right. And it reminds me of the movie that he's in called Unstoppable, which if you haven't seen it, it's great. But he's, in that one, he's an ex-gangster, and you don't really notice how capable he is at the beginning of the movie, because he seems like just a screw up and a failure guy trying to make it in the working class. But then as the movie progresses, he turns into this absolute beast, and it's his past life coming back. And I was kind of wondering if that's what we're supposed to draw out of his casting, his style. He's got like that sort of suit on, it's a casual suit, but it's light blue. It's not a business suit. It's more like a style. It's a style-based suit that he's wearing.
It's a funny one, right? Because the suit that he's wearing made him look like he runs an art gallery or something. Like it's kind of fashionable. Like it's not what you would expect a mobster to wear or anything like that. So I never got that kind of vibe from him. The fact that he's got so little respect for the main character made me think like maybe he's just a working class dude. Like maybe he just works on a construction site or something like that, and that's why he's so like big built and he knows how to handle himself. And he resents people who are from like a higher class socially. But yeah, he obviously knows how to fight. So again, that could go hand in hand with just being a kind of from a rough background, I guess.
Just a blue collar dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he was some kind of gangster type, you would maybe have a trophy wife or something like that, rather than you know, a girl who's carrying someone else's baby. You know, I think he's just he's probably just like a tough guy with a heart of gold, I guess. That's the way I always took him to be as a guy.
All right, so then we were at him getting there. He gets back onto the train. He grabs the riot shield, gets back onto the train. And that's where, then they learned about the darkness. Trying to remember exactly where we were. We got off on a tangent.
Yeah. I think what they realize is that they're going to have to go rescue their loved ones, because the main character's daughter is in a restroom with the big guy's wife and one of the old ladies. And so they're in a car further up. They're going to have to get to them. And the only way they can do it is to fight their way through these things. And yeah, that's when they do the whole like wrapping up their arms in tape. And yeah, the big guy just goes into full on beast mode and he's just ready to fight, you know?
They give, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that's when they discover, like, they're fighting their way through a carriage. They're fighting a losing battle because they're getting pinned down by so many of these things. And that's when they go through a tunnel and they discover that they can use that to their advantage. And the main character, who actually shows a bit of resourcefulness, he's able to bring up basically Google Maps or whatever the South Korean equivalent is and plot when the next tunnel is going to be so they know when to go for it. And so he you know, he demonstrates he's useful in his own way. It's just, it's a different way from like the big dude. He's not a fighter, he's a thinker.
Right. I love also the setup where they're taping up is great, right? They tape up and get ready. And then when it's go time, man, the music kicks in. It's got a beat. It goes into straight like action movie mode.
Yeah.
The big dude comes in, he puts his hands on each seat and does like a double front kick to the first zombie, and then he's just throwing hands. And the baseball player comes in with the bat and he's just bashing skulls. And it's great. It's like not quite a martial arts fight scene, but it's that feel of like, this is your action scene. Here it is. Every element of it we're going to bring right in your face in the middle of this zombie movie. And I loved that.
Yeah. There's no real technical fighting going on here, because it wouldn't be. It's just a brawl. You know, you're fighting against these monsters that are just out to like devour you, basically. So you've just got to use brute strength and club them to death, pretty much, and that's what you get. But yeah, that's the guy you would want leading the charge, because he absolutely can handle himself. And yeah, it's the whole thing with the darkness allows them to make it to the restroom where, you know, the women are hiding, and they discover that they can get out by going along the luggage racks at the top of the carriage. You know, they can crawl along there.
That 2 minutes, because they had 2 minutes in the tunnel. That was a Dragon Ball Z 2 minutes, man, of them crawling across that luggage rack. I'm like, this is 10 minutes easy.
Because if I had 2 minutes, right, to crawl the length of a train carriage and I was in one of those luggage rack things, I would be moving fast. Like, that's not the sort of thing you can just gradually creep your way along with. You got to get moving.
Right, because if they come out of that tunnel, they're all dead immediately.
Yeah, because the zombies can definitely leap up and get them easily.
Yeah. It was that was a long 2 minutes, but it was pretty interestingly done. It's what I like about it is it's a simple plan. They execute the plan really well. It's going just fine. And then right at the end, guess who's there to screw it up?
Yeah, the homeless guy. Yeah, because they're about to go, aren't they? And then he steps on a beer can or something. Well, they all hear them.
It was first he was coming down from the railing, and he slipped on the little like the sanitary napkin head covering on the seat, and he slips on that and falls, and that makes the noise. So the zombies like turn around and are kind of scoping out for him. Yeah. And then I think they come out of the tunnel, and the big dude's like, "You guys have to come on, just get in here." And so they're about to go. And yeah, he steps on the can, makes the sound again. and the zombies go nuts. And it's like, you're terrible at this.
Yeah.
How do you find a can? You're on a train car in a zombie massacre and you find something to step on. Absolutely embarrassing.
I do like as well how they use a cell phone with the ringtone going to distract the zombies. Like just the noise of it will make them go out of the way. And so they use the big guy's phone, and it's got like this really shit tune on it, and they're just making fun of him because of that. And he's really affronted by it. He's like, "It's a cool tune." And then he's like, "How do you change it?"
Yeah, but and that's like a little. It's an interesting piece of his character though, and this is, I think you said before the stream, the dialogue is really good in this movie. It's really well done, and the acting is really good as well. And that's one of those things where we get a little bit of insight into that character, where we go, this is an extremely capable guy in very, very practical ways. But like with just a moment before, the one guy, pulls up the map and he finds out how far the train tunnel is going to be away and how long the tunnel is going to be by doing some math in his head. This other guy doesn't even know how to change the ringtone on his phone. Right. Yeah. Like it's just this neat little characterization that I liked. They give him some humanity. This guy's good with his hands. That's what he does.
Yeah, he's a practical guy, and he's not like into technology and stuff. So they're polar opposites in that respect, but they learn to work together and respect each other because they're both useful in their own way. So I think that works fine for the context of this movie. Like they have to cooperate to get out of this situation. And yeah, that's when I think they make it to the carriage where the rest of the passengers are taking shelter. They've barred the doors so they can't get in. They're trying to force their way through. They won't let them in. Whereas the big guy's trying to hold the door closed at the other end of the carriage. And tragically, this is when he gets bitten and, realizes that he can't hold them off much longer. And he just goes out swinging like an absolute boss.
Yep. Yeah, it's he has so many good moments. That whole scene is really good. Yeah, he's holding the door. The dad realizes that he's left him behind, right? Because they're all trying to get in the other thing, and he looks back, and it's just the one big guy trying to get the door closed, and he realizes. So he runs back, and he's got the baseball bat, and he starts hitting some of the zombies, and he's trying to help him get the door closed, and then he's like, he looks, you can see he's got the bite mark right on his hand.
Yeah. And
the dad sees it and he's like, buddy, just go. Come on. I'm getting tired. You go. And then he says, hey, my girlfriend or whatever, my wife, you take care of her. It's this great moment where he transfers all of the leadership and all the responsibility onto this guy who at the beginning of the train ride, he thinks is a scumbag. Just by knowing that he's a fund manager, he thinks he's a scumbag, because that happens before when the little girl is talking to him and the pregnant lady. She mentions her dad's a fund manager, and he kind of makes fun of him, and the wife chastises him a little bit, but he thinks he's a scumbag even before he leaves them behind. Like that was just him meeting the expectation. So then he comes back, and it's this big development moment between both of them, because he trusts this guy enough now to say, no, I'm trusting you with my wife, my baby, and all of the responsibility that I've been taking on this whole time. And the dad's ready for it. I think it's great. Yeah,
no, it's a great scene. And like I say, he just goes out like a complete chad that he is.
Yeah, he picks up the one zombie, turns it sideways, and uses it to bar the others from coming.
And they're able eventually to just hammer their way through this door just by repeatedly like hitting it with a baseball bat. I think they break it through finally and get into this compartment. And that's when, everyone's just like, we can't trust you. You might be infected. You have to leave, and forces them into the vestibule further on. And like you said earlier, that immediately reflects on them, because the old lady sees her sister who's been infected with this thing. She realizes that the people with her just don't deserve to survive anyway, and just opens the door and lets them all in, and they all get killed. Well, most of them get killed. Obviously, sleazy businessman has to survive because he's the antagonist of the film.
Yeah, he survives, and I think the one stewardess guy that's left, right?
Yes,
The steward, I guess.
Steward, yeah.
He's with the sleazy businessman because they've been kind of working in cahoots the whole time. He's sort of reluctantly following the antagonist in all of his actions.
Yeah, I think the guy's just able to intimidate him into doing what he wants, and so yeah, he just does it. Obviously, later on, he doesn't survive long once he's outlived his usefulness. The guy just like throws him out the door and straight into the path of the zombies that are there so he can escape. Like the absolute dick that he is.
It's a little bit of a jerk move. A little bit.
So, yeah, they, the zombies break through into the main character, his daughter, the pregnant lady, and the old lady, I think. No, sorry, the old lady's dead as well, actually. So the baseball player and his girlfriend, that's all you got. And so they stop at a station just outside Busan because there's a wrecked train blocking the road. And they have to get out, and I think the driver's going to try and find them another train that they can use to escape. And so that's the big action sequence of this movie, I suppose. Like that's one of the few ones that takes place outdoors, where they disembark, and another train comes in and crashes into the ones that are already there and like knocks them over. So like they're pinned underneath the wreckage of this thing, while sleazy businessman sacrifices the steward that he's with so that he can escape. The zombies are pursuing him. I think the girl gets bitten by one of them and turns, so she ends up killing the last remaining baseball player, so he's dead. He just kind of gives up at that point. He's done.
It's like he pulled a Linkin Park, right? He tried so hard.
Yeah. But it doesn't even matter. And yeah, so yeah, I'm trying to think how the last little bit plays out. They have to try and escape from underneath this wreckage, but the zombies are starting to break in because they're like in the train carriage above them. Like there's just a window separating them, and they're about to break through. And I think that's when homeless guy finally comes into his own and sacrifices himself to save the others so that they can escape.
And all the times the dad had to grudgingly learn lessons about not leaving useless people behind. All of those times pay off when he becomes the only one who's able to save them. Yeah, and it's great.
And I like that because again, good performance from the actor because he's shit scared, obviously, but he's resolved to do this because he knows that's the only way the others are going to get out. Like, there's no way all of them are going to escape from this thing. And he sacrifices himself so that the pregnant lady and his daughter can escape, and they then make it to the other train that the conductor's been able to find. And wouldn't you know it? I should say, actually, just before you get to that bit, there's a great moment where the zombies are pursuing them, and they're all like latched onto the back of the train and getting dragged along by it, like a big carpet of zombies just getting pulled along behind them, and it's the main character who has to kind of kick them free,
right?
Which is a cool scene, you know. It's visually it's very impressive. But that's when he goes into the cab, and that's when you find, you know, sleazy businessman there, who's like the last guy who's managed to escape, and he's been bitten and he's starting to turn already. And I don't know why they didn't just kick him off the railings like at that moment, rather than waiting for him to turn into a monster and try to kill them, you know, because he was still human at that point.
I think the reason they didn't, and it's annoying and I disagree with it, but I think the reason is because that would have, like I said, this movie has very clear lines on morality, and they just couldn't, like, the protagonist just could not do that while he was still human. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only reason I can come up with for why. Like, nope, there's still enough of him left in there that we're not going to do it. It's like, no, just throw him off the edge. he's been scumbag the whole time. He deserves it.
Yeah, he absolutely deserves to die. That's not the kind of guy you want to be taking with you. Even if he wasn't infected, you'd probably be better off getting rid of him.
Exactly.
And yeah, like, so they have a fight scene, and the guy bites him in the hand. You know, that's him infected, and kind of a defining moment for his character, because that's the moment where he realizes that he's done for. He's going to turn sooner or later. But he forces this guy to the edge of the train and basically pushes him off and manages to hold on himself. And that's when he's, you know, he knows that he's going to turn pretty quickly, and his only option is to try and help his daughter and the pregnant lady. And so he shows them how to use the train and says goodbye to them, and walks to the back of the train and just throws himself off. Just again, like a really well acted scene. It's really poignant. It's really well done, and you really feel sorry for the guy because he's been through so much up until this point. And credit to the actress that played the daughter as well. Like, she's obviously really young, but she does an amazing performance.
Right? Yeah, she does great. That scene where he's saying goodbye to her is absolutely heart wrenching. It's really well done. She has a line during it when she's begging him to stay. She's begging him to stay, and she says, she goes back to the song, right? And she says, I practiced that song just for you. That's why I couldn't finish it at school, because you weren't there. I looked up and you weren't there. And it was, the song was for you. And you're like, oh God. And so like, there's this whole thing where this, the father we talked about earlier, it's kind of like the daughter's a victory for him because he's not really there. He doesn't know her that well, but there's this moment where she expresses like, and you get the idea that she's the one who wants to go to Busan. She wants to go to see mom. That was the only reason they were even on that stupid train. And so she's blaming herself for that. But so you get the idea that she's trying to get away, but then, this scene brings it back. It's like, no, she was just hurt and maybe a little mad, but she actually loved her dad. Like, she loves him. She's trying to connect with him. She's trying to make him proud. And so it's this really kind of nice, but also horrifically awful scene where she's expressing that to him, and he's learning like, the Don Lee guy said, when she's older, she'll understand why you worked so hard. It's like, here it is happening in real time. Like that she's expressing that. And it's like, oh God, it's as a dad, that's a tough scene to watch.
And when he's at the rear of the train and he's about to throw himself off, you get these flashbacks to when he was a dad for the first time. You know, he's holding the newborn baby in his arms, and just like, I think back then you saw he was a different person. He was much more connected to his child, and like, he's just holding her with absolute wonder in his eyes. And like, that's what he had lost in the course of his, the past 10 years or however long it was. And that's what he's finally regained at the end before he throws himself off. So yeah, what a great kind of arc for his character. What a great ending for him. It's obviously it's a sad ending, but it really gets you. And I think it's a perfect way to culminate the movie, really.
When I first watched it, I was annoyed that he didn't make it. I was annoyed. I'm not a huge fan of killing off main characters. I like to see them succeed. And I mean, he does though. And they don't kill him off out of convenience. There would be, like, if he lived, there wouldn't be any sort of like, there's no cop out in the killing. It's purely for the arc of the character, I think. But it still frustrated me. The second time when I just watched it, I didn't mind it as much.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with it. As much as I liked his character and I'd really come to empathize with him, like, I totally understand the need to kill him off to make him complete that arc. He's become a selfless man now, willing to do, everything it takes to protect his daughter. And that's the essence of being a father, I think. That's what the movie was trying to get at. And damn, yeah, imagine a movie in the West doing stuff like that now. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, he would have been a drunk buffoon who nobody respected, and he would have died ignobly, and that would have been the end.
The pregnant lady would have killed all the zombies single-handedly.
Right, with martial arts.
Yeah. We laugh, but that's what they would have done, man. That's the kind of crap they would try to sell to you over here. So I'm glad that they've got it right in South Korea. And yeah, like the final scene is that they pull to a stop at Wuhan. Wuhan, whoops, Busan. Sorry, recent events have corrupted my view here.
They went to Wuhan and things got real interesting.
Yeah. You don't want to go there, trust me. Yeah, that's when the soldiers that are standing guard there, they see them coming through this train tunnel and think that they're infected, and they're about to pull the trigger. And that's when the little girl does her song that she wasn't able to complete in her recital right at the start of the movie. And that's the thing that saves their lives. Again, just a nice, really poignant, well-constructed bit of setup and payoff.
Yeah, that's the theme throughout the whole movie. Like, whoever wrote this, I imagine they spent a ton of time workshopping all these devices and getting this thing ready, because the seeds that are planted all throughout the movie have their payoffs. You mentioned the one red herring, obviously earlier with the girl getting on the train, that being the homeless guy and all that stuff. But there aren't any red herrings that I can find that are put in the movie without a purpose. There's nothing, there's not really any loose ends to sort of tie up. They planned the movie out really, really well, and they executed on all of those plans.
Yeah, I would say so. And it's not a particularly complex story. It doesn't need to be. You know, the only little bit of intrigue you get is that you find out that the main character's, asset management company was quite involved with the lab where this thing escaped from, but they just managed their finances. They didn't actually do anything for them. They weren't involved in the research that they did. So, because you get that phone call with his assistant who's in tears saying, like, tell me we didn't have a part of this. Tell me it's not my fault. And, he just straight up tells them, no, it's fine. It's not your fault. You didn't cause this to happen.
Yeah. And and then the guy says, thank you, and hangs up the phone. That was it.
Yeah.
And then the dad, he proceeds. This is another thing that I really, really liked about this movie. The dad turns on the faucet and he starts like washing the blood off of his hands. And he's covered. I mean, the guy's like covered in zombie blood. He's got it on his face. It's all over his shirt. He starts washing his hands and cleaning his face a little bit. And he takes a moment. He's in the bathroom in private. He takes a moment to kind of cry and like deal with the emotions, the stress, the pressure, and also the realization that, he just told the guy, no, they didn't have anything to do with it. But in some small way they did. And he has to rationalize that for a second. But he's not blubbering in public. It's not like something. He deals with it the way like you would expect traditional manly man to deal with it. He does it in private. He leaves the faucet on so that no one can hear. He doesn't want his daughter to hear him crying. He doesn't want the other people. He's got to go back out there and get this thing done. And I actually really like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what people would expect from a leader and from a man, is that, you're in control of the situation and you're in control of yourself. And so you wouldn't show people that side of yourself. Exactly like you say, you used to see that in movies a lot, where the guy would be on top of things for so long and under so much pressure. And it's only when he was on his own that it would come through a little bit and he would break down, but then he would, muster his, his self-control to go back out there and deal with what he had to deal with. Whereas now, it tends to be that they're useless and like incompetent and blubber and wrecked right from the beginning. And so you don't get that anymore. But like, it's nice to see it in a movie like this.
Yeah. And that's, again, going back to that difference between where Korea is culturally and where we are culturally, in at least in popular media.
Yeah.
It's a stark contrast.
Yeah, places like Korea, Japan, like they're still quite male-centric cultures, and like men are expected to uphold a standard of behavior and self-control that you don't get anymore over here. But there's something good in that. There's something noble in that, and it's what like ultimately drives forward entire cultures, and it's what keeps things running. There's guys who can get things done and control themselves. I guess sometimes we miss that. And it kind of makes me wonder what we'll get going forward if this is what we're influencing people to be like. I do like this this comment here. The drinker has a night out and wakes up on the train to Wuhan. Wow. It would be the worst place I've woken up, trust me. But yeah, like that's really the final scene of the movie, is the pregnant woman and the little girl getting picked up by the soldiers, and they're made safe, and you assume that they survive. But yeah, like for me overall, it was a great movie, really good characters, really people that you empathized with and you're really rooted for. And I think the zombie outbreak was pretty well handled. The zombies themselves were great. They had like understandable flaws that you could exploit, and yeah, overall, I just thought it was a really good movie for fairly, I guess it was done on a fairly low budget, but I think they made it the absolute most of what they had.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment. I mean, it's not complex, but like you said, it doesn't have to be complex. It's wildly entertaining. Characters are relatable. They're believable. They grow, they change. They kind of forecast where the growth needs to happen. And they grow in expected ways, but through unexpected means. And that's kind of the thing. I think, the audience doesn't need to be shocked and surprised at every single moment of a movie, because life isn't shocking and surprising all of the time, even in dire situations like this. And I think that's what's great. They set up this sort of these pockets of normal human development in the most extreme situation you could possibly find yourself in. And it allows us to really enjoy that sort of growth in the characters and see where we might need to, make those changes in ourselves. I mean, that's the essence of storytelling for me. And they do it. They nail it in this movie.
Well, yeah, it's always meant to be about universal ideas and universal themes. And here's a perfect example. A movie made in a completely different culture from our own, halfway around the world, but you instantly get who everyone is. You understand exactly where they're coming from, and their decisions. You understand the difficult decisions that they're wrestling with. Perfect. That's universal storytelling right there. That's the essence of it.
Yep.
If we were to show people from South Korea some of the garbage that we're pumping out now, they would just be sitting there absolutely confused. Like, what the fuck is this? Why are you trying to foist this garbage upon us? Right, it wouldn't be universal. It wouldn't be understandable for them.
Yeah. It's they're trying to force these stories of the 0.02% in some way, and not in any relatable way. And to have just that traditional sort of idea of these are people that you either are or in this situation, here's how they deal with it, is great. And we need a whole lot more of that happening in Western media. And I think that's reflecting in how the audience is reacting to a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. I watch movies and TV shows now. I used to get excited about new things coming out. Now I just brace myself for bad news every time I see something. I'm watching things like when I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was absolute garbage. When I'm watching Loki at the moment, it's the most boring shite I've ever seen. Can't wait to review that one.
Yeah. I stopped watching most Marvel things. I mean, I finished up and watching Endgame. But before, I didn't ever watch Captain Marvel. I just didn't care. They lost me. They lost me on all this stuff. I finished Endgame because it was finishing the arc of the, of Thanos, and I wanted to see where that all ended up. But other than that, I haven't watched Falcon and Soldier. I just, I was like, eh.
Do yourself a favor, man. Just everything finished with Endgame. Marvel never produced a single movie or TV show after that. That's what you need to like just be convinced of.
That's
You'll be
what
so
I'm
much
working
happier
on right now. Yeah, I have no desire to watch Loki or anything like that. I've been trying to find other stuff to watch. I don't watch a lot of stuff these days because I just don't have as much time. But when I do, my wife and I sit down, we pick one show and like just grind through it. And none of those shows are on our list.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, at this point, like I'm watching Loki because I know I'm going to review it by the time that I get to the end of it. But honestly, it's like I forced myself to watch it now. It's like a chore that I just have to get through. It's like, it's Wednesday, the next fucking episode of Loki's out. Give up an hour of my day and like you'll watch the thing. But that's there's nothing driving me forward to see it.
Are you watching any of Superman and Lois?
No, I've heard it's really good though. People have been raving about it.
I watched the first couple episodes, then they had a COVID break. And then now they're apparently back. And the first couple episodes before the break were really good. I haven't watched the ones after, but I've heard they're really good as well. And it's similar in a lot of ways to what we're talking about with Busan. It's like, there's just kind of this focus on sort of a normalcy. I mean, it's Superman, right? But it's his family life that they're really focusing on. And he's got, this Superman persona, but it's almost more about Clark Kent in a way. And it's an interesting journey into this sort of small town America and trying to raise a family, raising these two boys. So I'm actually enjoying it a lot right now because it reminds me of just a good show. And it's on the CW, which doesn't make sense.
I know, that's like the CW making a good show. What the fuck? The thing is, like, I'm totally fine with that slightly different approach to Superman because, we've already had like however many TV shows and movies about Superman saving the world and all the rest of it. It'd be interesting to see like a slightly different spin on it, as long as it's faithful to the characters of the comic books, as long as it actually portrays Superman as Superman. You can show different aspects of his life, and that's great because, like I say, we've seen and done everything else in terms of him just being the superhero. What's he like as a family man? Cool, I'm up for that. As long as it doesn't try to downplay him or turn him into some deconstructed nightmare, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't get the impression of any deconstructed nightmare. I mean, he's a dad of these boys, and he's trying to raise them. He's also Superman, and there's a work-life balance there. It's kind of interesting because it's like very relatable. It's like, yeah, you've got these obligations, and sometimes it feels like the whole world's on your shoulders. And at the end of the day, when you take on the burden, maybe you forgot about something you had to do with your kids. Maybe you didn't spend enough time with them. I think it's something that a lot of dads wrestle with, and it's very relatable.
Well, that's always the classic superhero dilemma, isn't it? Like they've got this role that they have to perform, going out, helping people, like saving the world, all that great stuff. But like they've also got the alter ego that they have to try and maintain, and they've got people around them who they constantly let down because they have to prioritize what they do over the people that they're with. That was always the core of like things like Peter Parker and how he was always like wrestling with that conflict between Spider-Man and his own life. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to explore. I'd be totally fine with that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it a watch. I'd give it a watch if you're interested in the characters, because it's so far it's well done. I make no warranties or representations beyond like episode 4 though. So if it turns to woke garbage, that's buyer beware. It is the CW. So
yeah, they sometimes do the whole bait and switch thing, don't they? Where it's like they start off the show good, and then it's like once they've got you hooked in, then they hit you with the wokeness, and that's their way of getting you. Yeah, we're smarter than that, CW. You're not as intelligent as you think you are, and that's not very high to begin with. But yeah, I do have quite a few super chats, obviously, that built up as we were talking. I mean, I don't know if you've got time to go through with them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. I'm sure plenty of them will be for you anyway. So I'll see what we've got here. So Maka Jr. says, both of you are such inspirations and both like Lagavulin. Hey,
Yes.
you're also the only people I hear saying how we need escapism, and that makes me happier than Drinker after tongue punching Tatiana's Minch. Indeed, I truly am happy at moments like that. But yeah, Lagavulin is a great whiskey, and I'm glad you've enjoyed our stuff.
What's your favorite vintage Lagavulin?
16 probably.
Yeah, it's solid. I like the 12, but it gets a little harsh to drink. That's pretty heavy. The 8 was good, but I would just rather have the 16 than the 8. It's a little smoother.
Yeah, I much prefer smooth whiskies, and so that's why I tend to avoid the really peaty ones because I just find them hard going. So, like for me, Lagavulin's a good balance, and yeah, nice. I
like it.
Yeah. What's the next one here? Yeah, Maka Jr. also says, Nick, can you tell Critical Drinker about the majesty that is Cuckold Simulator? Also, Drinker, balls or no balls on your futanari? Nick will educate you. What?
Why? You bring this to other streams? Why would you do this? So I take it you're not familiar with futanari.
Not really, no.
I thought you were a man of culture and taste. No, I'm just kidding. So, God damn it. It's an anime trope of an anime girl, right? Fully biological woman who also happens to have a giant penis. And so the question would be, on your futa, do you want to have balls or no balls there?
I mean, do I have to pick on this one? Like, I would
it's
say,
it's your super chat rules. I don't know what you have to do.
I mean, I suppose you would want no balls, really, wouldn't you? You'd want to remove as many like male characteristics as possible. So yeah, no balls.
Okay, I go with balls. I figure if it's gonna be there, it's gotta be the full thing.
When I go all in.
Yeah, I like the slapping. That's what makes it. And have you heard of or seen Cuckold Simulator?
No, I can kind of picture what it is though.
Probably not, because I had the same sort of reaction. It's actually a very funny satire game created by one guy who I'll just tell you the origin of what made him make the game. He was playing around with the with I don't know if it was Unity or Unreal Engine, one of the two. And he found out that the characters had a chin slider. And so he set the chin like as weak and soy as possible. And then he decided to make a video game around it called Cuckold Simulator, where you play this guy who is completely lame. And your quest is to recover all your Funko Pops that were hidden by your definitely not your kid.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
It's pretty funny, man. It's what I would recommend is just go on Steam sometime and just watch the trailer for it, because you'll get a lot of laughs out of the trailer.
Just give him glasses and like a bald head and like, yeah, you're good to go, and a bit of a neck beard. The
game is $2, but there's a COVID mask DLC for an extra $1. And all it does is it just puts the mask on your character.
Just wearing it indoors in your house on your own. Yeah, that's perfect, actually.
Yeah, it's
good stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. The guy who made it, he's a pretty funny guy.
Nice one. The rookie critic here says, "Hey, Drinker, haven't seen this yet, but it looks good. It is good. You should definitely watch it." Chucksenhausen says, 2-part super chat. Mr. Drinker, on the real BBC, I asked Gary and Az which films they'd like to review with you. Az wants Fletch, while Gary desires Dreamscape. I pray that can one day become a reality. Damn. Well, need to talk to them about it. I'm sure they'd be up for it. Also, he says, personally, I'd like to hear you three review Karate Kid right before the new season of Cobra Kai comes out. That would be hash brown legendary. Yeah, indeed. We'll send that to the internet.
Speaking of RIP to his Twitter account.
Yeah, I assume he'll get reinstated because that was just a big dose of bullshit and chips. I think they've not understood the context of what he was saying at all.
I don't even know what it was. I just heard it was gone and that his appeal was rejected.
Oh, was it?
That was what Gary. I think Gary posted that yesterday night that his appeal was rejected. What did he say? If you're comfortable repeating it, I don't.
I don't know what I think they were talking about Game of Thrones, and he'd referenced a quote from Game of Thrones, which is Valar Morghulis, which is all men must die at some point in their lives. You know.
Oh my God!
And so he said that on Twitter, and then he got banned for hate speech. And you know, he put in his appeal, but I think his justification for his appeal was pretty much, "You dickheads can't take a fucking joke," and you know that's probably why it was rejected.
Man, that sucks.
I don't think he cares too much about Twitter anyway, so it's probably not a huge loss for him. But it's really dumb that this has happened in the first place, because like clearly he was just quoting something rather than saying it.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm pretty sure like if he was, you know, an intersectional feminist with pronouns in his bio, he would have been absolutely allowed to say stuff like that as much as he wanted. So
yeah,
who knows?
Well, someone in the chat said if he had said all straight men, it would have been fine.
Yeah, I think so. Or cis, or whatever the terminology is.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that really sucks for him. So, I mean, hopefully he comes back. Hopefully they're able to bring him back. Pyre Hat says here, an excellent movie made with passion. Yep, very much so. The good ones of today's cinematography era seem to be the foreign ones I've come to understand. Yeah. 2, Shang-Hua is the prime example of how the bestest, strongest character of an artwork can seldom be the most suited support role without overstepping the main protagonist's shine. Yeah, that's why they tend to get killed off, I think. They're good up until a point, and then they usually hit their limit of what they can do, and it's time for the protagonist to come into their own. I think that's what happens here.
Have you you read a lot, right?
I write a lot. I don't know if I read a lot these days.
Well, have you ever read Empire by Orson Scott Card?
No, I haven't actually. No.
Okay. You know, he did Ender's Game and all that stuff, but he has a book called Empire, and like it's similar, but it's done in this really, really frustrating way. The main character for like the first third to half of the book is this super capable special agent. It's about a civil war erupting in the modern United States, right? And it's this political drama about who started it and all this stuff, and everybody's getting killed. And you got this main character. He's like CIA operative, former Navy SEAL. You know, he's got all this credentials, and he's doing everything. He's leading everybody through, and he just get headshot right in the middle of the story. He just gets headshot, and it switches main characters, and you're like, what the hell? Why would you do this?
It's unexpected. I'll say that.
It was very unexpected, but yeah, he was too capable. And that's kind of the interesting thing, is if you have a character that's too capable, it gets hard to make a story that is believable, because at some point you just go, well, this guy can solve every problem. Like if the big dude had kept living in Train to Busan, I mean, he was solving every single problem up to that point. He was taking on the leadership role. He's holding all the doors. He's grabbing the riot shield. He's busting through the zombies. He's motivating people to move. At some point, he has to pass the torch. And if he's around, you're going to go, okay, why isn't he doing this? So you got to either cripple him or kill him.
Yeah, and the thing that you really identify with in a story is a character that's got to go through a journey and has got to learn something. And that guy, you know, as awesome as he is, he's kind of learned all the things he needs to learn, and he's reached his full potential, really. And that can only take him so far. And it's up to the main character then to carry on with that and finish his journey, and ultimately he doesn't survive either. You know, he only reaches that point right at the end, sacrificing his life to protect his daughter. He learns that value of self-sacrifice. You know, so those are parallel kind of journeys that those two characters go on, but it ends the same way for them. So yeah, I'm fine with doing that with characters like this, because otherwise you end up with a Steven Seagal movie where the main character can just do everything and is amazing right from the start and doesn't have a character arc.
Which is why they killed him in Executive Action.
Yeah, that was great.
Because if he was on that plane, he would have solved that terrorist problem in no time.
Yeah, he would have just lazily karate chopped his way to the terrorist guy and just killed him as well. But yeah, I mean, you know, to reference modern movies though, like this is something that we've probably both touched on, is like when you have characters like Rey or Captain Marvel, you know, they don't have a character arc because they're not put up against adversity and they don't have to learn or grow. Right. And the result is you've got nothing to identify with. You've got nothing to latch onto. They're not characters anymore. They're just like a force of nature. That's not fun to watch.
Yeah. No, it's boring. It's boring when you type in ID God mode or whatever, and then the character comes in and just sweeps up the problems.
Yeah.
No one wants to see that. It doesn't help us learn anything in the media that we're consuming.
Yeah, you're not inspired by it because we're all flawed people. We've all got you know, weaknesses or hang-ups or whatever. And you know, the idea is that we can move beyond that through strength of character and through tackling adversity and become better people as a result. That's the inspirational aspect of storytelling. If you don't have that, you don't have a story. So, yeah.
Speaking of Seagal, have you done any Seagal movies?
I've not quite gotten to that point in my life yet.
Dude, I love Out for Justice. If you're ever looking for a Seagal movie, Out for Justice is actually great. And then, of course, Exit Wounds with DMX is also.
Christ, yeah.
And Michael Jai White. I love both of those, and Tom Arnold. It's actually Exit Wounds is a pretty funny movie, and it's fun to watch. Out for Justice is just pure Seagal. That's the one where he takes the pool cue ball and wraps it up in a towel and just beats up a whole bunch of people in a bar with it.
See, Steven Seagal, when he was younger and considerably thinner, was actually kind of cool. Like, because he could really do action scenes. Like he had, I think it was Aikido was his discipline, but like he genuinely could fight pretty well. The problem is he just became this massive bloated, you know, lazy arsehole.
He went on his music tour.
Yeah. Steven Seagal as a singer, that's just amazing. But yeah, like he became just like a parody of himself that people could laugh at. But it's like everyone was in on the joke except Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
But yeah, his early movies are actually pretty decent, you know. But yeah, one day I'll do stuff like his later movies. I'll find a way to review them. I did enjoy Under Siege, actually, as much as his ego got in the way of it. It was quite a good film. Yeah,
you had a great cast. You got Gary Busey and Tommy Lee Jones, the hot Playboy chick.
Erica Eleniak or something. Like the most pointless topless scene ever, but also the most awesome. Like, man, they were good. Worth it.
Oh, you and Az were talking about that in Beverly Hills Cop. They go to the strip club and it's kind of like just because they can or whatever. And it's like
an 80s movie. Yeah, it's like you've got your you know, R ratings. Fucking throw some tits in there. Who cares? Everyone likes it.
They won't do it now. They won't do it at all.
No way. No way will you get stuff like that nowadays. And that's why movies suck.
Yeah. It's like you can't acknowledge fun anymore. And not much more fun than a topless scene.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone's lives are made better with boobs. I mean, honestly, any movie's improved by it. Nobody's going to object to that, really. And yeah, it's just a shame you don't get it anymore. We need more R-rated action movies that just throw stuff like that in for the sake of it because they can.
Yeah, I mean, RoboCop had it. Terminator 1 had it. Die Hard had it.
Die Hard, yeah. Commando had it.
Yeah, every 80s movie, just it was like there was just somewhere in the background tits run by or whatever. They just had to.
Yeah.
And now that's gone. It's like it just bothers me because it now feels like it was considered gratuitous nudity, but now it feels like there's gratuitous unnudity. Like it doesn't make sense. In some of these situations, there would be a naked person. They're now making movies about strippers that have no nudity in them.
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's almost like you're gradually moving away from the idea of having attractive women on screen, and now they're getting more and more sort of masculinized and butch looking, and just they look like shit basically, and nobody likes them. But they seem to have convinced themselves that that's what they have to do. So good luck to them. Yeah, watch your bank balance shrink. People in chat are saying gratuitous clothing.
Exactly.
Oh man, what's the next one? Unhinged Entertainment says Drinker and Rekieta can go down my train tunnel any day. Well, I hope your tracks are wide enough for us. Big Al says, Hootsman, have some free money. Thank you. Because why the hell not? Any news on sorting a collaboration with Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards for an American Werewolf in London? He said he can drink you under the table. Well, that's fighting talk right there. I'll see what I can do. When people make recommendations like this on streams, I tend to pick them up. So I'll do what I can.
That was the first rated R movie I ever saw.
American Werewolf in London.
Yeah. I was like 4. My parents didn't know I was in their room, and they're watching American Werewolf in London. And it's right at the scene where he's at the Piccadilly Circus, like just biting the heads off of everybody.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
And they're like, I jumped up and I was cheering for the dog, and they're like, oh my God, what are we doing?
There's so many weird bits in it, like the nightmare sequence where he imagines like, Nazi stormtroopers like coming in and stabbing his girlfriend to death, but they've got like monster heads and stuff. Like it's so random. Yeah, and he's got his mate that's like died with him the night that he got infected, and he's just like the ghost that follows him around, and he's gradually like decaying away. Hell of a movie, like really is. Texas Red says balls or no balls. Well, I think we've established for me it's no balls, but Rekieta, I think he's going the other way. Go
Not
balls
everyone's
deep.
correct. It's okay.
Yeah, go balls deep. Stephen Lanuto says Bambi's mom explained umbrella experiment zombie. Zomdeer. Carlos Asturian says, my 2 favorite channels. Nice to see you 2 dorks collaborate. It's nice to be collaborating. Thank you. Evil Zombie Toe says, seriously, one of the best and most endearing movies ever made. Among All the Gods is equally brilliant and recommended to anyone who enjoyed Train to Busan. Or Train to Wusan, as it's more commonly known. Trenton Quinn says, my ex was a huge fan of Shameless, and for me, that was where I started getting tired of pop culture veering away from traditional values. I only watched bits and pieces of Shameless. I didn't really love it that much.
I almost watched it because I heard Emmy Rossum was naked in it, but even that wasn't enough.
Yeah. You can always look up that scene. That's why God invented like Google image search.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I didn't even know if you would know about Shameless over there in the States.
Yeah, it was one of the big premiere channel shows, Showtime maybe. So I would always see it, on back, especially back when I had cable. I've long since ditched that, but I never watched it. I also William H. Macy's in that one, right?
What, in Shameless?
Yeah, isn't he in that one? Or is that so, someone else?
No, I don't think he's in Shameless.
Oh shit! Who am I thinking of then? We're talking about 2 different shows.
I think we might be. People are saying that there's a US version. There's definitely a Brit. Yeah, okay, yeah. There's a British version and an American version. I think that's the. Confusion.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the US version of Shameless.
Right,
My bad.
Okay. Right.
My bad.
No, that's cool. Rob Altus says, have you gents seen Juan of the Dead, a zombie comedy from a Cuban director worth a watch? I haven't seen it. I don't know if you have.
No, I've
One of
seen it on the streaming services, but I never watched it.
Oh, okay. The Outcast Creative gave me a £5 super chat with nothing in it, but thank you very much. Also, oh yeah, I guess they missed out this one from the same people. Good call, drinker. Love this film. It just came off our live production of Henry V, set on D-Day. Try and catch it tomorrow at 7 p.m. 16 actors performing live. What? So Henry V set on D-Day. All right, fair news. Go and watch it tomorrow at 7 p.m. Charles Hurst gave me a $50 super sticker, so thank you very much, my friend. I've very much appreciated. Jen C says, "Hey Drinker, will you do a review of Train to Busan's prequel next called Seoul Station?" Probably not, to be honest. But I don't know much about the prequel, to be honest with you.
I didn't even know there was one. I heard the sequel's garbage, and I never knew about the prequel.
I think the prequel's animated or something. I could be wrong, but I seem to recall that. What's the next one? Chris Topher says, "Hey Nick, did you know the guy who created Berserk died back in 2019? I used to play that Atari game all the time as a kid. Also, nice matching beards." I think mine's is a bit more grey than yours.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah,
I'm working on it.
Yeah, so the guy who created Berserk died in 2019.
Man, that's a long time ago. I did not know that. I had not heard. I guess that's too bad. You know, you'll never finish that manga now.
Yeah.
You ever watch any of the Berserk stuff?
I did not, I'm afraid, no. So I don't know much about it.
The Golden Arc trilogy is on Netflix here. It's kind of it's three movie sort of telling of one of the main stories. It's not bad. I'd give it a watch if you like any anime stuff.
Okay, cool. Braden Bowman says, off topic, but Drinker, you should do a review of Gattaca. I think it's your kind of movie. I heard it's really shit, but yeah. I don't think I've ever seen it, if I'm honest with you, so I'll need to give that a look. RRTNZ says, Drinker, you brilliant bantering beast. Here's my weekly suggestion. Inception, Nolan's Bond film with his best protagonist and final payoff. I mean, I think Nolan's best film was probably The Prestige, but Inception was all right. Yeah, I'll give it that. I definitely enjoyed it. It had some of his tendencies of like prioritizing concept over character, but good film all the same. It's
good. It's long.
Yeah.
I'm moving away from long movies these days. I want a 90-minute movie. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, I've said this before. Like, I really respect a film that can do a good, efficient screenplay. You know, that can establish everything it needs to do and get things moving and wrap it all up in well under 2 hours. Because that's a skill. There's a skill in like doing things, you know, quickly and efficiently, but not making it feel like it is. You know, and that's what we lose sometimes in movies nowadays.
When it also forces the pacing. Typically, like you have to, the movie has to move. If you're going to take 2.5 hours, you can really have a lot of lag time, and that can be useful. It's just I typically, like, especially today when you can when you have production values so high on like these premium streaming services and stuff like that. It's like, look, if you need more than 90 minutes to make a movie, just make a series. Just like go all out and make a series. That's fine, but if you're going to make a movie, just make it 90 minutes, please. Plus minus 10%, you know. But,
yeah, absolutely. That's why things like Army of the Dead were so frustrating to watch, because it's like, it's basically a 90-minute movie stretched out into 2.5 hours. Just through really sloppy editing and really like inefficient, bloated screenplays.
I've lost all faith in Zack Snyder. Haven't had any for a while, so it's not like that's new, but like his... I had no desire to watch his recut of Justice League or whatever, and I had no desire to see Army of the Dead. I was like, when I almost watched it, I sat down, I was like, oh, Army of the Dead, let me check that out. And it's like 2 hours and 32 minutes. Not a chance. Not a chance am I turning this on.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, I quite like the concept behind it. And in the hands of a better director, I think it would have been good. But he was not suited to this kind of film. And yeah, he's definitely had more misses than hits in his career. That's for sure. Grimy here says, when are you reviewing The Longest Yard starring Burt Reynolds? Now, are you talking about like the 70s version or like the Adam Sandler one from like the 2000s? Because they both had Burt Reynolds in them. But yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about the original, which was really good. Yeah. One day it'll be a drinker recommends. Sheep in Wolves Clothing says, when will you review the Orville? Oh, good question. I need to watch all of it properly first because I've just dipped in and out of it and not properly like sat down and watched every episode. And there's kind of a lot now. We're like a few seasons in. So it's not an easy thing to just get done. It's not like watching a movie for 2 hours. Canon Falderall says, High Drinker and Law, a well-written and well-paced zombie film. Who would have thought it? Certainly not Zack Snyder. Yeah, that just ties in exactly to what we were saying. Just give me a second. I'm just refreshing the list here.
Oh, no worries. I hate what YouTube's done with the super chat management. It's become a disaster.
Yeah. Especially like if you're doing what I do and you kind of let them build up, but then as you're going through them, and obviously more people send more, and you've got to keep refreshing. Where is it?
Yep.
Yeah, Jonas Larson says a comparison of Old Boy from South Korea and its Hollywood remake would be an amazing drinkers video. Oh yeah, because I really like the original. I'm not so hot on the remake. Yeah, I just don't know why they do it. It's like the original was great. Same with the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. Like the original Swedish version was just really good, really well constructed, and perfect actors. I don't know why you would need to remake it.
I didn't even know there was an original one. I only ever heard of the remake and had no interest in watching them.
No, watch the original. Like Numi Rapace is really good as the main character. So yeah. What's the next one? Devanor says, Drinker, do you think there's any hope for Amazon's Wheel of Time TV series? Love the books, would have been hyped beyond all reason, but these days, yeah, haven't they like gender swapped the main character for that? I could be wrong, but I thought they had.
Why keep doing? It's just like you walk up and you've got two options. You've got a button that you press that prints money. And then you've got a fire that you can throw your wallet into. And they keep walking up and just throwing their wallets into the fire. I don't understand. They just print the money. It's the Wheel of Time series. Just make the series into a show and you will make millions of dollars. You know, for whatever it's worth on the Lord of the Rings movies. And people have a lot of criticisms of them because they made some cuts and stuff like that. But they tried to be really, really faithful to the imagery, the characters, and everything from the books. And the stuff that they left out was just left out. It wasn't like it's not like they retconned it or something like that. It just, they left out some stuff. And it's like, that's why those movies made a ton of money. It's these classic stories that people like. Just print the money. Print the money. I don't understand it.
No, absolutely. And a lot of it just comes down to trying to appeal to, people on social media, activists and stuff, and like slapping themselves on the back because they're being so progressive. But ultimately, you're progressing towards a world where every movie you produce is absolute shite. So if that's what you want, great. I hope you don't like money. What's the next one here? Aiken says, I feel Loki is applying the worst part of Dragon Ball protagonist writing. There's always something bigger. Yep. It's the moment they had the Infinity Stones just sitting on someone's desk and they're like, yeah, we use them as paperweights around here. I was like, oh, fuck off. This is just a classic example of like, my dick is bigger than yours. But it absolutely isn't. I've just got a big magnifying glass to try and pretend. Like this show has got no place trying to like usurp Endgame and Infinity War as being like something bigger and grander than that. It's absolutely not. So yeah, fuck off. Fuck off, Loki, you shitty disaster of a show. C's here says, name pronounced as Case. I'm Dutch. Oh, sorry, Case. Dear Drinker, what do you think of The Cruel Sea, and will you make a review of this excellent but forgotten film? Christ, that's an old one. Yeah, it's a fantastic, like, old classic World War II movie. Yeah, I'm surprised you even know about it. But yeah, it's really good. I would like to do more movies like that. So one
What's
day,
it called?
The Cruel Sea.
Oh, The Cruel Sea. Never heard of it.
So it's like, yeah, it's a World War II movie. It's like the British Navy trying to sink German U-boats or whatever, and like, you know, the kind of hardships that they face along the way. They get torpedoed, they get sunk, you know, they get a new ship eventually, all that stuff. It's good stuff. Xander's Rant says, I hear the sequel to Train of Busan movie sucks. Yeah, apparently it does. Also from the Outcasts Creative, best shows out of Oz is Mr. In Between, a loving single dad by day, hitman for hire by night, and day depending on childcare. We're reviewing it soon. Okay. Yeah, you kind of want more movies like that, or more shows like that with good, interesting, strong characters. Vishan Singh says, I honestly thought Train to Busan was incredibly cliche, several emotional moments aside, and gets rated highly because it's a foreign movie. I mean, I would argue with that, to be honest. For me, like, I think the characters were well written. Yeah, there's definitely moments that you question the character's actions, like when the old lady lets the zombies into the carriage. That was probably the standout moment for me, where I was like, that seems a bit extreme. But it's like we said, you know, when you've got a large cast of characters, you don't always go into a huge amount of nuance with them. You know, they tend to be more archetypes, but like if they're well written and well performed, then you can buy into them.
Yeah, I think it's a difference between writing in genre and writing in cliche. Like, because if you're and I think they did a good balance here. They used the zombie movie genre to deliver the character-driven story. So I guess it's gonna seem cliche because it's in genre, and they use that to shortcut some of the storytelling, because that's not the focus of what's going on. The main story it's a story about a dad, you know, becoming a better dad for his daughter, like becoming the best dad he can be. That's kind of the story that's going on, but it's set in this zombie apocalypse. And so they're writing in genre, but also bending it. I don't think it's cliche to use genre tropes to short circuit some of the stuff. Again, it saves a lot of time and exposition, and it gets us to interesting questions that they're trying to tell in the story without having to spend it building out this world that doesn't ultimately matter to it.
I agree. I just love this comment in chat as well from Simon Parkin. Train to Dundee. Now that's a horror film. Yeah, I've taken the Train to Dundee, mate. I know what you're talking about. What's the next one? Ryan Vert says, if you're looking for a good show, I recommend a show called Banshee. Good characters and great action. It's only 4 seasons on HBO Max. Yeah, that's got Anthony Starr from The Boys in it, and apparently it's meant to be awesome. So nice.
I've heard it's really good.
Yeah,
I never watched it.
Same here. Stephen Otten says, greetings, gents in chat. Rekieta, your description of Unstoppable sounds very much like Nobody. How similar are they?
Pretty similar. Unstoppable is a little bit more... well, no, actually, they're very similar. Now that I was thinking of Man from Nowhere. No, Nobody was great movie. Really enjoyed it. They're similar. It's different character origins and different character sort of capabilities. I mean, Nobody, he's like, you know, this government agent type thing, but in Unstoppable, he's a former gangster who is just a badass tough guy, and now he's trying to be, you know, a normal family man. Nobody, his family obligations are like this weird sort of burden on him, and it's very mundane. In Unstoppable, that's what he wants. He wants to be a good husband, good dad. He wants to build up this family thing. He's not like longing for his past life. He gets thrust back into it. I guess it's the difference between a noir, which is where a good character has to delve into bad things to solve the problem. I don't think Nobody is a noir. I think it's something else. I think it's great, but yeah, I hope that helps.
No, that's fair dues. There was one in chat as well from Harnack saying, Drinker, did you ever watch Altered Carbon? I'd like to hear your thoughts on the first season versus the second seasons. Yeah, I thought the first season was really good. I think the problem that they had is like switching actors, obviously, for season 2. I get that that's kind of the point of the show. Like you're not really wed to any real physical form. You can just download your consciousness into a new body. But I think that's kind of a tough sell for most viewers because you identify with the character through how they look primarily. And yeah, it just the season 2 just felt like weirdly disconnected from everything that had come before it. So I wasn't a huge fan. Like I was really gripped by season 1, even though it was quite convoluted at times. Season 2, yeah, I wasn't very interested. It felt very flat and lackluster by comparison. So yeah, shame really, but I guess that's the way shows like that are going to go.
Yeah, I fully agree. First season of that was really fun and engaging, and then the second one I was just like, okay, I don't care. This got way out there, and it's really boring.
Yeah. Wormy Spoons says, sorry, I have to disagree on Lois and Clark. Superman has money problems, or their idea of how DNA works for starters. Raised by Wolves is awesome, though. Cool. That was a bit of a stream of consciousness there, like a bunch of different points that you're making. I don't know about Lois and Clark, though, because I haven't seen it yet. Crispy Critters says, you guys should do a Rule 34 review. I've not seen that.
Rule 34 is the internet rule that there is a porn for everything.
Okay.
So.
Perfect.
I agree. We should. That'd be great.
I
don't know how you do that, but.
Yeah, just go away. We'll watch the porn version of Captain Marvel or something, and then we'll do a review. So what's this? Scipio African says progressive politics in comics is old. X-Men has always been about racism. However, it is excellent. Yeah, I mean, I think the difference there was like the old X-Men comics probably portrayed that kind of thing in a more balanced way, and it explored it as, you know, an allegory rather than a straight up lecture for people. I think the difference now with comics is they want to tell you exactly how you should perceive things rather than letting you form your own opinions.
Yeah, X-Men's the great example of what escapism is, right? Like here's how you can talk about a complex problem by removing the complex problem from its context. And so about racism, sure. You can also say it's about identity. It's about kids growing up and in some ways and struggling with identity and stuff like that as well. And yeah, by removing it from the context of current day, current year, you get to address these questions in a way where people can say, yeah, I guess it is maybe a little screwed up that they're discriminating against these people just because they're different. And it's like, oh yeah.
Well, it taps into that kind of universal human fear of the other, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that's what drives the persecution of the mutants, is like they are different from normal human experience, and so they fear them because they don't know what they could become. So you can kind of understand where they're coming from, but then, yeah, like exactly like you say, it recontextualizes issues that we deal with in normal society, but it puts it in a different context where you start to think, oh, right, this exposes how ludicrous it really is. And yeah, it gives you a chance to review all of these things that you kind of took for granted almost before. Wait, where did I get to with this? Oh yeah, Stephen Otten says recent shows you may want to check out: Into the Badlands, Person of Interest, Van Helsing, Dark Matter, and Killjoys. Good recommendations. Also from Stephen Otten, WWRDD. What would Ryan Drake do? He would murder everyone. Philip A. Dernick says try reviewing I Am a Hero. Good manga adaptation. Okay. Chuck Grable says, my favorite memory while I was in South Korea was I got hammered drunk, running from the police and waking up on a train to Busan. True story. I hope there was no zombies involved. Old Man Dan says, Drinker, have you seen Man from Nowhere, another South Korean film? No, I've never seen that actually. So if it's on the level of quality of Train to Busan, I'm all in.
There's a couple real like the few Korean movies that I've watched. That's one of them. That's good. Unstoppable is really good. There's a one I watched like half of because I came in like at the latter half of it, but it's a Korean war movie called Taegukgi about two brothers who end up as like heroes on opposite sides of the war. And it was like this very complex war drama that I was really enjoying quite a bit. I like what they're doing. I like what the Korean cinema is doing. I didn't like D Wars though. I thought that was trash.
Okay. What's the next one? Salty Jester says, you two should do a review of the movie Society sometime. That would be interesting. Society, okay.
Have you not seen Society? I had not seen it. There was someone in my Twitch chat spamming me like every movie. Watch Society. Watch Society. I was like, fine, we're gonna watch this stupid movie. It's one of the. It was a religious experience.
Really?
I was like,
did you see a vision of hell while watching it?
I mean, kind of. I loved it. And at the end, I said, I'm going to be thinking about this movie for weeks, and it was true. I was thinking about that movie. My brain would just keep going back to it. It's something special. I don't want to talk too much about it. I would strongly recommend watching it.
Okay. Damn, that's a good recommendation then. Wormy Spoon says, Steven Seagal walks into a doctor's office and says, Doc, you got to help. My waistline is under siege and my hairline's marked for death. Oh, man. Yeah. The Steven Seagal's wildly fluctuating hairline. It's great stuff. Marksman of 117B says, the devalue of intimacy and sexuality in movies. Pretty much, yeah. The devaluation of boobs in movies. That's what I'm really concerned about.
Yes.
Big Viz 497 says, I'd love a drinker review of Cool Hand Luke, my all-time favorite movie. Cool Hand Luke is an awesome film. Yeah, Paul Newman is just glorious in it. And yeah, pretty dark ending to it, but great movie all the same.
Made me feel like I could eat 50 boiled eggs.
Yeah. Of all the things to have to eat, fucking hell. I hate boiled eggs as well, so that'd be a tough one for me.
Oh, have you seen it? Someone just brought it up in the chat. Have you seen 13 Assassins? It's a Japanese movie.
No, I haven't.
God, it's really good. It's really good. He says 13 Assassins, not Korean, Japanese, one of the most fulfilling endings in all cinema. It was that was a shockingly good movie. I thought I was going to just be watching, some samurai movie about chopping people up, and it ended up being really good on a different level. I liked it.
Nice. What we have here is an inability to communicate. Red Barrington was just saying here, Beverly Hills Cop 2, they go to the Playboy Mansion just because. Yep. That's 80s movies for you. Big Al says, thoughts on Jackie Chan's The Foreigner? Also, sort of that collaboration with Both Man's Got Nards, or I'll send you photos of my pal Big Tony dressed as Tatiana. No! Wanda Maximoff. Holy shit, the Red Witch is here with us. Check out the trailer for the new woke Candyman movie. Fuck.
Oh, come on.
Stop making things again. Just come up with original ideas. Jesus. This actually kills my soul, just hearing stuff like this. You know, they're remaking Candyman. Why? The original one was really good. You're not going to do better than that.
Yeah, it's like when they announced the remake of Big Trouble in Little China, and I was like, just don't.
Yeah, just leave it alone.
It's a perfect movie. Leave it be.
Yeah, they wanted The Rock for that, didn't they?
Yeah.
No.
You can't do Jack Burton if it's not Kurt Russell. Like,
yeah, exactly. You're not going to do you know, Lopan if it's not James Hong.
Right.
You know, it's just like and you know, if it's not John Carpenter directing, you're not going to get that kind of low budget, like cheesy feel to it that just makes it so awesome. It's just, yeah, just leave it alone. Reb says non-cheese edit of Berserk is free on YouTube and superior to Netflix trash. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Claudio Rogajan says Army of the Dead should have been an action comedy. Yeah, it should have been. But it wasn't. It was just a big bloated mess. Where's the next one? Oh yeah, here we go. Babelfish says, ever seen Miracle Mile? I feel like I have, but I can't remember it. Nah. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I don't think so. Jameson Sands says, your guys' thoughts on bean counter producers dominating Hollywood? Will remakes and rehashing ever end? What needs to happen? New stories or recasting? You'd think if the bean counters were dominating Hollywood, then they wouldn't keep producing woke trash like they do, because they don't make money.
No, I think what I think is that we're on the cusp of a revolution in independent creation. I mean, we see it in video games, we see it in comic books, we see it in music, and I think it's coming for Hollywood. And what we're going to see is a lot of really good stories coming out of really small startup production studios that are funded on Indiegogo and Kickstarter and stuff like that. They're going to start making movies that way. And then we're going to be relegated to big guaranteed money spectacle movies like Avengers and Star Wars or whatever coming out of the big studios. I think that's the way it's going to go. And I think that's probably for the better. If we're getting the bulk of like storytelling and movie making moving back towards smaller creators who are focused on ideas and not focused on licensed IP, I think we're going to get better stories.
I would hope so. Yeah. That's hopefully something good that's going to come out of all of this. Mr. Pinkman in chat was saying they literally went into space in Fast and the Furious 9. I'm not lying. I believe you, to be honest. It's the only place they haven't gone. I hope they drive cars in space. That's what I'm really wanting.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm going to go see that movie next week, actually. So see what it's like. Yeah. Don M says they wanted to make the new Big Trouble less racist. Last I heard, the project was shelved. Yeah. And
thank God.
It stays that way.
Shelve it, light it on fire, and execute the person whose idea it was to remake it.
Yeah. Yeah, boy Shinji says, hey Drinker and Nick, cheers for all the hours of entertainment. Just wanted to shill a movie, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, My Conquest is the Sea of Stars. It's a 60-minute prequel to the OVA series of the same name. Okay. There you go. Give it a watch. Stephen Lanuto says, a review for Chow Yun-Fat's Hard Boiled. Holy shit, yeah, the fight scenes in that are incredible. Yep, I'd happily review that. Trinoculus P says, might be a bit sappy, but what do you think of the movie Wee Geordie? I don't think anything of it. I've not seen it, I'm afraid. I don't know.
Never heard of it.
John Oakletree says, off topic, but might I recommend Runaway Train and Sorcerer, two great movies about desperate men in desperate situations in punishing locations. I haven't seen Sorcerer, but I've seen Runaway Train, and it was really good.
Sorcerer sounds like my kind of movie. 1977.
Oh wow. Yeah, but Runaway Train, John Voight was great in that. Harvey Weinstein, back from the dead, apparently says, hey Drinker, The Wailing is also a pretty good South Korean film. It has one of the best exorcism scenes that I've ever seen in a film. Oh, okay. The Wailing, cool. Marksman of 117B says, Will you do a stream about the Wandering Earth with Az, a character-based film where the setting is flying the Earth out of the solar system? That sounds nicely crazy. So yeah, that sounds good. Alex Soames says, just need to get Nick on EFAP now. He'd fit into the Toxic Brood well.
Oh, no.
You need to get yourself on EFAP.
People keep telling me to. I keep fapping and it doesn't work. I don't know.
Yeah, fap harder.
I'm chafing.
Andre Jones says, if you like anime at all, I recommend Death Note. Good writing, good characters. You won't be bored. Well, that sounds like a promise.
Oh, dude, I just thought of one. The Night Comes for Us. I think it's a Netflix studio movie, but it's got I don't know that the guy from The Raid is in it. Uwo, whatever his name is. Is
it the guy who played Mad Dog?
No, it's the main guy, Rama.
Okay.
There. It's like one of the most violent movies. It's got a huge body count and it's just action packed. It was awesome.
Well, that's exactly what I want in my movies. So yeah, sounds good. What's the next one? Claudio Rogajan says, what's your favorite Jackie Chan film? One of my favorites is Shanghai Noon. I had a friend who said it's complete crap for some reason. Your thoughts? Yeah, because they did a bunch of, like, I can't be arsed with Chris Tucker, so I wasn't into those Shanghai movies, because there's Shanghai Nights as well. But yeah,
those are the Owen Wilson ones.
Damn, man, I'm getting them mixed up.
Rush Hour was the Chris Tucker ones.
Yes. No, sorry, I'm mixing them up. But yeah, I mean, Jackie Chan in general, absolute legend. I think my favorite one of his would probably be Legend of the Drunken Master.
Yeah.
Because he's drunk. But he still does amazing fighting. I just love that. Andre Jones says, also, I like the remodeling of your room, and I'm glad to see Big Trouble in Little China poster back up. Yay! Yeah, I'm just trying to put some slightly more interesting stuff in the background, so I don't know if it's out of focus or what, but I've got a display case with some stuff in it anyway. What's the next one? I'm not allowed to show Tatiana in her cage, sadly, because YouTube will demonetize me, but she's there, trust me. Marksman of 117B says, do you guys know of the SCP Foundation series? There's a fan-made short movie called SCP Overlord, made with a 20K Kickstarter. There's your indie. I've never even heard of that, to be honest. But there we go. It's available to watch. So SCP Foundation.
The one thing I think I'll say after just ranting about independent creation, independent cinema needs to fix their cinematography because they do not know how to frame shots for actors. I've noticed this, like when you just go watch the trailers for a bunch of like indie movies, they're all like shot way too close. They need to back up from the scene a little bit because all of them have this. It's the same look. I don't know enough about like cinematography to really explain it other than you can tell when you're watching an indie movie just from how faces look on camera. They need to back it up.
No, I kind of agree there. There's definitely a certain look that they have where you're like, I don't know if it's just, they've only got a certain location to shoot in and they can't show too much because like they've only got so much like soundstage set up, or they've only got so much like area that's like, coordinated for their film or what. But yeah, they do tend to be close up just to like save space and make it easier and more efficient to shoot, I assume.
Probably.
But yeah, I kind of get what you mean there. Will Crispin says, I'd love to see you review the show The Sinner, 3 seasons. Okay.
Oh, great show. Yeah. I just watched that a couple months ago. It's Bill Pullman as a detective with like autism, like crippling autism.
Okay.
But no, it's I don't know if he's actually autistic. It's good. I thought the 3rd season was a little bit much for me, but the first 2 are great.
I do like Bill Pullman, so it'd be nice to see him in something.
He definitely pulls the show together. I think he portrays the character extremely competently.
Nice. John Papa Sergio says Army of the Dead is a John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars wannabe. I mean, I think the premise is a bit different because, like in Ghosts of Mars, they're under siege and they've just got to try and hold out. Whereas I think in Army of the Dead, it's much more of a heist kind of movie, just with zombies in the background. Yeah, Ghosts of Mars, man, that was John Carpenter's not his downfall as such, but it was a real sign of like, I don't think he's got it anymore. Stug here says, I don't know if EFAP can handle a second Rags. There's only ever going to be one Rags, trust me. Evan Kingdom Andrews says, off topic, is it gay or homosexual to be attracted to trans women if you're a straight man? I don't know.
Yeah.
Make your own judgments on that one. Rob H says, here's some beer money just for mentioning The Night Comes to Us. There we go. Thank you very much for your beer money, sir. All right, Claudio Rogajan says, who's Tatiana? I'm not completely in on the joke. Tatiana is a good friend of mine whose company you pay for by the hour, and I keep her just out of sight at the moment because YouTube won't let me show her. Wormy Spoon says, check out Rurouni Kenshin live adaptation, Rekieta.
Okay. Maybe. I was not a fan of the show. I liked Samurai X, and then suddenly in Kenshin he didn't kill anyone. I was like, I don't care anymore.
I want killing.
Exactly.
Claudia Rogajan says you should review Jackie Chan Adventures. Childhood right there. Pretty funny, action-packed cartoon. I do kind of remember that vaguely, Jackie Chan Adventures. Stephen Otten says, The Night Comes for Us is the goriest martial arts movie I've ever seen. The final scene is unforgettable. Man, I'm sold. I'm going to have to watch this.
It's a good one.
Cannon Falderall says, drink your whiskey review channel when? Cheers. I've already got 2 channels on the go. I can't do another one. I was thinking about like doing some food stuff, like really disgusting stuff that I've seen in like on my local supermarket that's microwavable.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself? You got to make someone else eat that.
No, I'll eat it. If I'm drunk enough, I'll eat it. I can do it. What's the next one? Night King 01 says, I hope to see a Total Recall stream soon. You will, or a proper review, one of the two.
The new one, right? The new better one.
Oh yeah.
God, it's so fucking bad.
That movie is so garbage. Old Man Dan says, if you get a chance, check out Lucifer. The first 3 seasons were good. I haven't seen since it went to Netflix. Yeah, I've heard good things about it, actually. It's been around forever. John Papa Sergio says, have either of you watched the Mr. Mercedes series? I think it's pretty great. Acting, character development, all great. I haven't seen it. Mr. Mercedes. Heel versus Babyface. Hello, Az. These are a couple of pieces of bread I'd like to be the filling of. Next time, dude. Next time. I think we made that to the end, though. I think we've got to the end of all the super chats here. Awesome. Yeah, that's it. We made it. Yeah, man. Like, thank you for giving up your time to do this. And I know it was kind of off the cuff that we arranged this thing, but man, I'm glad you were up for doing it because it's been great to rewatch Train to Busan and to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I had a ton of fun. Thanks for having me on. It was in no way giving up my time. I'm spending it well. So it was a good conversation, good movie, good chat as always. And yeah, and got some good recommendations too. So hopefully
Yeah, indeed. I need to watch that martial arts movie in that case, the night one.
Yeah, Night Comes for Us. Oh my gosh.
No, that sounds good.
It was just a feel good, bloody, beat him up with a high body count, and you're like, yes, thank you. This is what we need from an action movie from time to time. I'm tired of these action movies like 3 people get killed. I want a catastrophe on screen.
Yeah. That's what you want. You know, if you've got the rating, like the R rating, just go for it. Like, produce a movie that's properly violent that people can enjoy. Exactly. Oh, there's one more super chat that came in, actually. Trenton Quinn says, Twitter lost a voice of reason by banning Az. Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I hope they rescind that because it's the context behind it is insane.
Mm-hmm.
On John Papa Sergio says, Mr. Mercedes is 3 seasons based on a Stephen King book series of 3 books. Really good show. Nice. But yeah, man, as we were saying there, I know it's been great to have you on for this. And, you know, I've definitely enjoyed being able to chat through this film. And for all the people in chat, for all the people that have donated super chats and everything, like, thanks to you guys. It's been another great stream, and I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, I think we've pretty much reached the end of it. So I'll finish up there, I reckon. The link to Rekieta's or to Nick's channel is in the description. So certainly give him a follow, give him a subscribe, because he produces great content.
Lots of drinking, lots of swearing.
Well, what more can you ask for in life? But yeah, thank you to all you guys, and yeah, I will catch you again next time. But for now, that's all we've got for today. So I guess we're going to go away now.